Chapter 584. Sean, the director of the CIA's European branch, had an ugly expression on his face. He had given Charlotte 1 minute to consider, put down his weapon, and surrender. However, Charlotte had only given him 30 seconds to consider. Otherwise, Charlotte would commit suicide. And the order he had received was to capture Charlotte alive, not bring back his body. This operation was like traveling through time to catch Da Vinci or Einstein. But once the operation was over, what was the point of bringing back from the past time, and space was only Da Vinci's or Einstein's body? If Charlotte died here, it would be a devastating blow to the AE Research Center. Even for the United States, it would be a huge loss. These were all things that Sean needed to consider. No, Long Bing shouted at Charlotte, "Go. I don't want you to save me." Tang Yuyin suddenly turned around and kicked the CIA agent. Her hands were tied with plastic bandages, but her kung fu was not affected. She kicked hard, and the agent was immediately kicked to the ground. If he had the body shape of an Asian, he would probably fly. But he, who weighed at least 120 kilograms, was kicked to the ground by a petite woman. Her valiance shocked a large group of CIA agents. In fact, Tang Yin's thoughts were the same as Long Bing's. They both wanted to die so that Charlotte could live. The CIA agent who was kicked to the ground was angry. He raised his gun and aimed at Tang Yuyin. "Bastard!" Sean kicked the gun in the agent's hand away. "What do you want to do?" The CIA agent stared at his boss in surprise, but he did not grab the gun. With Sean's fierce eyes at the moment, if he went to grab the gun and shoot Tang Yuyin, Sean might shoot him first. Charlotte was also very nervous. Just a moment ago, he thought that the agent would shoot Tang Yuyin. Fortunately, Sean stopped the agent. Charlotte did not want to experience such an unforeseen event a second time. He said in a deep voice, "Time's up." Shaolin looked at Charlotte and said coldly, "Can you shoot?" Charlotte sneered, "If I fall into your hands, I'll die. If I shoot myself, it'll be easier. Since I'm going to die anyway, what's there to be afraid of? You, on the other hand, if I die here, I'm afraid you won't be able to live for long either, right?" At this point, he suddenly roared at Xiao in one word, "Release them immediately, and I'll go with you." Xiao In finally made a decision. "Untie them and let them go." The two agents immediately pulled out their military knives and cut off the plastic bandages on Long Bing and Tang Yin's hands. Then, another agent cut off the plastic bandages on Ryu Yungnam's body. "Give them a cell phone," Charlotte said. Xiao gave him a look. The CIB agent returned Long Bing's cell phone to Long Bing. Holding the cell phone, Long Bing did not move. She looked at Charlotte, tears flowing down silently. Charlotte pretended to be fierce and shouted at Long Bing, "What are you still standing here for? Get out of here. I don't want to see you again." It would have been better if he had not been fierce. Now that he was fierce, Long Bing's tears flowed even faster. "Idiot." Tang Yuyin's voice was a little choked. "Don't let all of this become meaningless. Go, all of you." Charlotte finally softened his tone. "Escape from here, and call me when you're in a safe place." Director Xia. Ryu Yungnam also cried. If he was just one of Charlotte's employees before, then after this incident, he was already Charlotte's brother. Long Bing could no longer control her emotions. She walked quickly to Charlotte. She ignored the black guns and the cold stares all around her. She opened her arms and hugged Xiaolei. She had thousands of words in her heart, but she could not say a word at this moment. Xiaolei cupped her cheeks and sealed her lips with a kiss. A muffled sound came from Long Bing's throat. She quickly immersed herself in the kiss and kissed Xiaolei passionately. "Romantic," Xiao In sneered. "I can give you a few minutes for the last romance, haha." Of course, he would not give Charlotte and Long Bing time to have sex. Charlotte also ignored his ridicule. Just as Long Bing desperately entangled his body, he quietly grabbed the alloy necklace on his neck and pulled it off. Then he put his hand in a Long Bing's collar and got into her bra. At this moment, Long Bing also froze. She couldn't believe that Charlotte really had that kind of need at this time, and in front of so many people. However, she soon found that Charlotte put something in her bra. It was very cold. Charlotte kissed her ear and whispered in it, "Take it back. It's very important to me. Don't tell anyone." Wait for me to come back. Long Bing was slightly stunned and then nodded. Charlotte pushed Long Bing away and said fiercely, "Go away. Don't let me see you again." Long Bing bit her lip and turned away. Tang Yuyin suddenly walked to Charlotte. She seemed to want to do what Long Bing had just done. "Let's go." Long Bing grabbed Tang Yuyin's arm. "You." Tang Yuyin stopped talking. Long Bing didn't explain. She pulled Tang Yuyin out of the door. "Director Xia, take care." Ryu Yungnam left a sentence and followed Long Bing and Tang Yuyin. The three people soon disappeared from Charlotte's sight. Charlotte said, "Give me my mobile phone. After confirming that they are safe, I will go with you." Mark Armin said, "Give it to him." The mobile phone that was taken away by Mark Armin was quickly returned to Charlotte's hands. Charlotte held it tightly. He had never felt that a mobile phone was so important as now. However, his mobile phone was related to the lives of Long Bing and Tang Yuyin, so it became especially important. Moreover, it was related to the last AE capsule. Just now, he even had the thought of eating the last AE capsule. However, in the blink of an eye, he thought that if he ate the last AE capsule, he was bound to enter an evolutionary state that even he himself could not predict. He could die, or he could become like Princess Yongmei. Regardless of the result, it was not what he wanted to see. In addition, eating the last AE capsule was tantamount to giving the AE Research Center an excellent opportunity to study him. This was because even if he ate the last AE capsule, his evolution would not immediately show results. It would require a process. Once this process was studied by the AE Research Center with America's scientific and technological strength, the AE Research Center might be able to obtain some powerful biotechnology. This result was also not what he wanted to see. Therefore, after weighing the pros and cons, he gave up the idea of eating the last AE capsule and asked Long Bing to bring it back to China. This was the best way to deal with it. Firstly, it did not change his original intention of deciding whether to eat the last AE capsule after he had cracked the secret of AE. Secondly, even if he could not go back, the last AE capsule was still in Long Bing's hands. If he died, Long Bing would hand it over to the country. "Charlotte, you're the first person to threaten me with your life." There was a hint of ridicule in Sean's tone. "This is very interesting, isn't it?" This was the attitude of a victor. Charlotte did not pay attention to Sean. He shifted his gaze to the window. He saw the German Special Forces soldiers confiscating the mobile phones of the guests and checking if the guests had taken any photos or videos. What happened here was destined to be kept a secret. Charlotte saw Sylvia and Rihanna. The two women stood in the quarantine circle and looked in his direction. Sylvia's eyes were full of worry. A wry smile appeared in the corners of Xia Lei's mouth. He knew that Sylvia had that kind of thought about him, but he did not have the slightest intention to flirt with her. Sylvia was destined to be just a passerby in his life. He might still remember her after brushing past her, but there would be no intersection. Charlotte suddenly turned around and walked toward the oil painting. "What are you doing?" Sean shouted. There was the sound of guns being raised all around. Charlotte said lightly, "I like this oil painting. I'm just looking at it. You don't have to be nervous." In the oil painting, the female pirate with two faces was holding a shield in one hand and a short axe commonly used by Viking pirates in the other. She was hacking at a tall and sturdy Gaul. Her body seemed to have a magical power. Not only could she hack apart the bodies of all her enemies, she could even tear through space and time and exist forever. Was this painting really painted by Leonardo da Vinci? Charlotte could not help but imagine. Sylvia said that this female pirate finally avenged her companions and built a heroic spirit box town here, turning it into a stronghold for the Viking pirates. How did she get her revenge? Could it be that Princess Yongmei helped her do it? So, Leonardo da Vinci painted Princess Yongmei's face under her face? In a desperate situation, what he thought of was not how to escape, but this. Charlotte found it a little funny. Sean did not stop Charlotte from admiring Mark Armin's ancestral oil painting. He was also waiting for Long Bing's call. Once Charlotte confirmed that the three of them had left safely, he would take Charlotte away. A few minutes later, Charlotte suddenly punched the oil painting. The oil painting with hundreds of years of history was instantly destroyed, and the female pirate's face was gone. All that was left was a hole. Princess Yomei's face was hidden in this painting. This secret was only discovered by him, and he was also the last person to know this secret. He would not give the opportunity to discover this secret to Mark Armin or his descendants. Of course, since Mark Armin had framed him, he had no reason not to make Mark Armin pay a price. "What are you doing?" Sean said angrily. Charlotte turned around and shrugged. "I'm not happy, so I'm venting. Can't I? You can get Mr. Mark Armin to contact my lawyer. I'm willing to stand in the dock and fully compensate him for his losses." Beep, beep, beep. The satellite phone's notification tone rang. Charlotte picked up the call. "We're already safe," Long Bing said. Let's go," Charlotte said. "Promise me that you will come back alive. Otherwise, I will come to America to find you. If you're not there, I will come down to find you." Long Bing's voice was cold and determined. Charlotte hung up the phone and walked toward Sean. Charlotte was escorted by a group of CIA agents into a Chevrolet Suburban off-road van. Sylvia stood in the crowd and stared blankly at Charlotte. Mark Armin walked into his living room. His gaze shifted to the ancestral oil painting with a hole in it. He suddenly screamed, and then his vision turned black as he fainted on the ground. Chapter 585. A few Mercedes-Benz G-heavy military SUVs opened the way, followed by a long line of CIB Chevrolet Suburban off-road vans, driving along the seaside road toward the airport. The box town of heroes slowly drove away. The forest on both sides of the road was lush green, and the nearby grass was covered with alfalfa flowers. The colorful alfalfa flowers seemed to weave into a flower carpet, so beautiful that people didn't want to blink. Would such a beautiful scene ever be seen again? Charlotte's heart was heavy to the extreme. He thought Sean would give him an anesthetic injection and wouldn't tie his hands and feet. But this time, Sean didn't inject him with an anesthetic. Instead, he tied his hands and feet with chains used to deal with felons. In this way, his method of pretending to be unconscious, then sneak attacking and escaping would be useless. Sean was the most difficult opponent Charlotte had ever encountered from the CIB. "Mr. Xia, tell me, you went to Afghanistan, Jerusalem, and Japan. We believe you were on a mission. What is your mission?" In a Chevrolet Suburban off-road van, driving in the middle, Sean stared at Xia Lei and said tentatively. Charlotte said emotionlessly, "Vacation, picking up girls." Sean's brows suddenly furrowed. "Mr. Xia, I'm polite to you, so you better be polite to me. You know what I'm capable of. You don't have to provoke me and make yourself suffer." Charlotte smiled. "Didn't you see? My 2 girlfriends are beautiful. I took one of them with me when I went to Afghanistan. I brought 2 of them to Jerusalem. When I went to Japan, I brought another one. My mission is to make them happy." Sean suddenly punched Charlotte's cheek. Charlotte's head was slammed to the side by the fist, and he almost hit the window. A trace of blood spilled out from the corner of his mouth, but he smiled. "Is that all you've got? I'm telling you, you better not fall into my hands." Shout and sneered. "Do you think you can still escape? I tell you, you'll be sent to Area 51 military base in Nevada. Even if an army attacked that place, they wouldn't be able to rescue you, let alone escape on your own." Area 51 of the United States was the legendary base for alien research. It was also the base for secret weapon research and testing in the United States. It was very mysterious. So far, no spy agency of any country had obtained information about Area 51. If Charlotte was sent to that place, he really wouldn't be able to escape. "Is the AE Research Center in Area 51? Charlotte asked tentatively. "Do you like that place?" Shaoan's words were a tacit admission. "I like it. I've always wanted to go and have a look, but I didn't get the chance until now," Charlotte said with a smile. Shaoan laughed. "You've obtained something that originally belonged to America, the AE capsule. We believe that you have superhuman phenomena in you, and you'll become the subject of research." AE's secrets and the technology related to AE were all American. "I admire your personality, but I don't know if you can still smile like now, when you're lying on the cold operating table, dissected and studied like a frog or a mouse." "Ha ha!" Charlotte laughed. but his laughter was full of bitterness and helplessness. However, just as Charlotte was laughing, in a certain second, there was a sudden violent explosion in front of him. The shock wave of the explosion shook the earth, and even the road was shaking. Flames soared into the sky, the bulletproof glass shattered, and the vehicle shook and deviated. A second ago, it was still driving normally, but in the next second, everything was in chaos. Charlotte's head hit the door hard. At that moment, he saw a Mercedes-Benz G heavy military off-road vehicle flying in the air. It was on fire, and the people in the car were also on fire. The fire danced in the air, looking very gorgeous, as if it was added with top-notch special effects. Boom! The Mercedes-Benz G heavy military off-road vehicle that was blown away by the roadside bomb fell from the air and smashed into the second Mercedes-Benz G heavy military off-road vehicle driven by the German Special Forces. Enemy attack. Someone roared in German. Bang, bang, bang. The German Special Forces machine gunner fired at the hillside on the right, and the heavy metal sound unique to the heavy machine gun shook people's hearts. Flames, bullet casings, and bullets rained down like raindrops. The forest on the hillside was suddenly smashed into pieces, not to mention the people hiding in the forest. Even the trees were shot into pieces. However, the German Special Forces firepower only lasted for less than 10 seconds before a bullet flew out of nowhere and pierced into the German Special Forces machine gunner's forehead. A large part of his skull had been ripped open. His skull, brain matter, and blood mixed together and flew everywhere like water splashing on the ground. Some militants appeared on the hillside, wearing black combat suits and black headgear. The weapons in their hands were very advanced, even more so than the German Special Forces. They used the trees and rocks on the hillside to rush down. Their movements were fast, and they cooperated well with each other, showing extremely high combat skills. Who are they? Fu *K. Who are they? In the car, Sean roared angrily. Sean didn't know who these militants were, but Charlotte knew, because he had found the sniper who used a sniper rifle to kill the German Special Forces machine gunner in the forest. It was none other than Yamosa, who he had fought against in Japan's Yamashina. The FA organization made its move. This kind of thing, not to mention Sean, even Charlotte couldn't think of it. However, it was reasonable for the FA organization to make a move at this time. Because once the CIB sent him to Area 51, it was a military base that even a country's army couldn't take down, let alone the FA organization. Whether it was the AE Research Center representing the interests of the UA or Yamosa representing the interests of the FA organization, both sides' target was him. What the CIB wanted to do now was to take him to Area 51. The FA organization certainly wouldn't sit idly by because it was completely not in their interest. And now, it was the FA organization's last chance to take him away. In the vision of Xia Lei's left eye, Yamosa stood with a gun and fired. Each bullet would inevitably take the life of another German Special Forces soldier or CIB agent. There was no expression on her face, cold as ice. But it wasn't her gun or her marksmanship that shocked Charlotte, but the cigar in the corner of her mouth. What kind of woman was smoking a cigar while killing people? Sean shouted into the walkie-talkie, calling for reinforcements. Calling. In the roar, he suddenly froze for a moment and then slammed the walkie-talkie on the door. No signal. This was a common tactic used by the FA organization. They had to end the battle quickly. In their battle, no one should even think about calling for reinforcements. Another German Special Forces soldier who had just climbed into Mercedes-Benz G heavy military off-road vehicle was shot in the head by Yamosa. No one dared to take over the position of the machine gunner. Whoever went would die. Retreat. Turn around and retreat. Sean roared to the driver. A heavy truck suddenly appeared from behind. The driver on the truck suddenly turned the steering wheel, and the heavy truck suddenly fell across the road. The retreat route was also cut off. Sean suddenly pointed his gun at Charlotte's head. Get out. Hurry up. Just as his voice faded. Boom. There was another violent explosion. A Chevrolet Suburban parked in front was hit by a rocket. The vehicle was destroyed, and several CIB agents who used the car as cover were also blown away. The shockwave of the explosion directly affected the Chevrolet Suburban that Xiaolei was in. His body was also thrown to the ground, and he fell on Sean. At that moment, he reached into Sean's pocket and grabbed the key that could unlock the chain lock. The stealing skills he learned from Qin Xiang had now become a life-saving skill. Okay, I'll get out. Charlotte grabbed the door handle and pushed the door open. Sean's hand reached out of the door and maintained the position of pointing the gun at Charlotte's head. At the same time, he moved his body and prepared to crawl out of the car. Charlotte's feet landed on the ground. He suddenly tilted his head and slammed his back into the car door. The car door caught Sean's hand in the gap. Charlotte reached out and instantly grabbed the gun in Sean's hand. The CIB agent in the driver's seat pushed the door open and raised his gun to shoot at Charlotte. Charlotte rolled and avoided the flying bullets. At the same time, he waved his hand and fired, hitting the driver between the eyebrows. Sean originally wanted to chase out, but seeing that Charlotte killed his man in one shot, he didn't dare to come out. His body was tightly pressed against the sofa, and he didn't even dare to show his head. Charlotte's body continued to roll to the grass on the side of the road. He tightly held the gun he took from Sean and the key he stole from Sean. These two things were related to whether or not he could escape in the next half an hour. They were as important as his life and freedom. The battle continued. A freelance FA organization agent carrying a minigun multi-barrel machine gun suddenly appeared and fired at the line of defense formed by the German Special Forces and CIB agents. The appearance of the minigun multi-barrel machine gun immediately broke the balance between the two sides. The dense rain of 7.62mm bullets swept everything in its path. Wherever the muzzle pointed, even a Mercedes-Benz Model G heavy-duty military off-road vehicle was shot into pieces, let alone a human. Once hit, the human body would immediately be torn into pieces. At this time, who could care about Charlotte? Charlotte's body stopped rolling. He sat cross-legged and used the key to open the chain lock. Ding! A series of sparks suddenly sputtered from the chain lock. A sniper rifle bullet pierced through the gap of the chain and drilled into Charlotte's thigh. Xiaolei didn't need to look to know that the shooter was Yamosa. Yamosa appeared here with a freelance FA organization agent. She didn't have good intentions. Her goal was the same as Sean's. She wouldn't give him a chance to escape. The sniper rifle bullet pierced into the flesh of his thigh, and the scorching bullet brought indescribable pain. Charlotte clenched his teeth, tore off the already unlocked chain lock, and then rolled into the dense grass. Fortunately, the chain blocked the bullet. Otherwise, a sniper rifle bullet would be enough to cripple his left leg. Chapter 586. On the hillside, Yamosa's brows furrowed. She shot Charlotte's leg. In her estimation, there was a 90% chance that Charlotte's left leg would be crippled, and there was a 70% chance that Charlotte would pass out. However, Charlotte slipped into the bushes right under her nose. His reaction was so fast that she didn't even have the chance to fire a second shot. In the blink of an eye, Charlotte disappeared from the sniper scope. "I've injured your leg. This time, you won't be able to escape, Xiaolei." Yamosa put away his sniper rifle and whistled. Then he roared, "Kill them all." This loud whistle was the signal for a general attack. The freelance FA organization agent operating the minigun multi-barrel machine gun had just loaded the tracked magazine when Yamosa's roar reached his ears. In this second, as if he had been injected with a stimulant, he stood up from behind cover and strode down the hillside with the minigun multi-barrel machine gun. Tut, 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 in the sparks and smoke, the 7.62mm bullets rained down on the Frankfurt Special Forces and CIB agents on the road like a storm. The heavy SUVs were riddled with holes, and parts flew everywhere. The Frankfurt Special Forces and CIB agents were torn apart one after another. Their arms, feet, and internal organs fell here and there. The thick smell of blood permeated the air, and the wind couldn't disperse it. Yamosa, who acted as a sniper, was the last to rush out, but she was the first to rush onto the road. She was like a sharp knife, giving the last stab to the dying CIB agents and Frankfurt Special Forces. A Frankberg Special Forces soldier leaned against a broken tire and gasped for air. There was a bullet hole in his lower abdomen, and blood kept gushing out. "Don't kill me. I surrender." The Frankberg Special Forces soldier looked at Yamosa with pleading eyes. Yamosa glanced at him, raised her arm slightly, and the modified pistol suddenly spewed out a ball of fire. Bang! A gunshot rang out, and the head of the Frankberg Special Forces soldier suddenly disappeared. Yamosa pointed at the forest on the other side of the road. Only the FA organization agents followed them across the road and began to search for Charlotte. Yamosa walked to the side of a Chevrolet Suburban off-road van and reached out to open the door. There were 2 corpses in the car. Both bodies were in the space between the backseat sofa and the front seat sofa of the Chevrolet Suburban, one on top of the other. The one on top had been shot to pieces by the minigun machine gun, while the one on the bottom was still in good condition, but its face was covered in blood. "Playing dead?" Yamosa sneered. She removed the cigar from the corner of her mouth and blew a puff of smoke at the corpse below. The corpse below did not move at all. Did the CIA's fake death course only teach you to smear some blood on your face? If you want to fool my eyes, you have to at least have the courage to shoot yourself in the neck. All of a sudden, Yamosa grabbed the collar of the corpse below and pulled it out with all his might. The body belonged to Sean. Sean opened his eyes. He couldn't pretend anymore. The moment the car door was pulled open, his heart broke. He hid in a Chevrolet Suburban with the body of a CIB agent on top of him. He was lucky enough to escape the minigun machine gun and the search of the FA organization agents. But he couldn't escape Yamosa. "Who are you?" Sean asked, suppressing the fear in his heart. "We are ISIS soldiers." Yamosa said, "Kneel, and I will give you a quick death." Sean knelt on the ground. "You're not ISIS soldiers at all. They can't come to Germany to fight. ISIS people don't have such good equipment, and the combat power you showed is not something ISIS soldiers can have. You are." He seemed to have guessed something, but he didn't say it. It was useless to say it, because he guessed that the organization style was never to leave anyone alive. "Allah Huckabee." Yamosa raised the modified pistol and pressed it against the back of Sean's head. Sean closed his eyes, and his body was trembling. But at this critical moment, a motorcycle suddenly sprinted from the side of the heavy truck. The rider on the motorcycle suddenly raised an MP5 submachine gun in his hand, and the muzzle locked on Yamosa almost the moment it was raised. Yamosa's shoulder and lower abdomen were instantly shot, and the blood spurting from her body splattered on Sean's face. Yamosa dove sideways, rolled twice, and crawled into the grass. The motorcycle rider braked and stopped on the side of the road. A woman's voice came from the helmet. "Mr. Sean, get on." Sean finally came back to his senses. He hurriedly got up from the ground and climbed into the back of the motorcycle. The female rider stepped on the accelerator, and the motorcycle roared as it rushed forward at high speed. Bang! Yamosa suddenly rose from the bushes and raised his gun to fire. The high explosive ammunition from the modified pistol brushed past the motorcycle and hit a Chevrolet Suburban off-road van. The Chevrolet Suburban shuddered violently, and a large piece of steel plate was torn off. The female rider pulled back, and the MP5 in her hand spewed out a string of fire. Yamosa lay on the ground and dodged the flying bullets. The female rider didn't want to fight, and the motorcycle quickly left the battlefield. "Who are you?" Xiao En asked, his voice trembling. "Gu Qin," the female rider said. "Gu Qin, I'm a member of the CIB Asia branch. From now on, you're my man," Sean said. "Thank you, sir." Inside the helmet, Gu Qin's mouth formed a sneer. At the same time, Yamosa stood up from the grass. She took off her leather jacket. She had thrown the coat on the grass, but it was still bleeding profusely. It wasn't blood, but a blood bag hidden in the jacket. The director of the CIB Europe branch played the dead body, and the ace killer of the FA organization, Yamosa, played the shot. This was a big acting competition between the two Secret Service organizations. Judging from the result, Yamosa's beauty saving the hero scene was more realistic, and her acting was better. "Charlotte, I'm coming." Yamosa looked at the dense forest ahead and chased after him. A gust of wind blew, and the forest swayed. It seemed to be whispering, using a compassionate voice to persuade humans who were killing each other to put down the butcher's knife. Oh! Charlotte took a step and jumped over a fallen tree covered in moss. A few drops of blood splashed from the wound on his left leg and dripped on the tree trunk, bright red. Although he had bandaged the wound with a strip of cloth, this treatment couldn't stop his wound from bleeding. If he was given more time, he would find many ways to pull out the bullet and stop the bleeding, but the freelance agents of the FA organization wouldn't give him such time. Time was life, and every second was extremely precious. When his feet landed, Charlotte's body shook and he almost fell to the ground. The wound on his left leg was so painful that he gasped. There was a roar behind him, and it was a strange language that he didn't understand in Japan. But even if he didn't understand, he could guess that the person shouting was conveying information about his whereabouts to his companions. He fled all the way here, and his blood was spilled all the way here. In such a situation, even someone without professional tracking training would be able to find him. I can't go on like this. I can't hold on for long. I'll be caught by Yamosa and her people. Charlotte gritted his teeth, endured the heart-wrenching pain from his left leg, and continued to run forward. Although his left leg was injured, it was not easy for the freelance agents of the FA organization to catch up with Charlotte. Because even if he only had one good leg, he was still someone who had learned Qigong from the Tang sect. He tilted his body's center of gravity to his right leg, and his left leg only supported his body at the moment of landing. Coupled with the inertia of sprinting, he could maintain a relatively fast running speed while minimizing the damage and pain. 2 minutes later, Yamosa appeared in front of the dead tree that Charlotte had climbed over. She dipped her hand in the blood spilled on the dead tree, put it in her mouth, and took a sip. Then she raised her hand and pointed to the other side of the dead tree. The blood is still warm. He's in front of us. Go after him. A large group of freelance agents of the FA organization rushed over. 50 meters ahead, Charlotte was limping in the forest. As expected, he couldn't hold on for long. The more blood he lost in his left leg, the weaker he became. Blood loss affected both the heart and the brain, which would directly affect the operation of the body's organs and nerves. It was only a few dozen meters away, but he was like a horse running at full speed and could fall to the ground at any time. He's there. Suddenly someone behind him shouted in English. Bang, bang, bang. The gunshots rang out, and the tranquility of the forest was suddenly broken. Bullets flew through the forest, shaking the trunks of the trees and sending wood splinters flying. However, the freelance agents of the FA organization obviously didn't want to shoot Charlotte. Most of the bullets they shot hit the trees around Charlotte. Some were aimed at Charlotte's legs, but it took a lot of luck to shoot his legs while he was running. Damn it, Xiao Lei cursed under his breath. He suddenly pulled back his hand and moved his fingers. The freelance agent of the FA organization who reported his range suddenly had a bloody hole between his eyebrows. The freelance agents of the FA organization wanted to catch him alive, but Charlotte wanted to kill him. If he had an XL 2500 sniper rifle in hand and kept a distance of 2 kilometers from these freelance agents of the FA organization, he was confident that he could kill all of Yamosa's men. However, this was impossible. Neither of these two conditions could be achieved now. Charlotte killed one with one shot, and the people chasing him finally slowed down. Charlotte gritted his teeth and continued to run forward. 30 meters later, he suddenly heard the sound of water in front of him. His heart stirred, and with the last bit of his strength, he sped up and rushed over. A row of trees was left behind, and in front of him was a cliff. A large river rushed down from the forest, forming a waterfall on the cliff. Charlotte stood on the edge of the cliff and looked down. The height was 30 meters. Jumping from such a height was very dangerous. However, he only hesitated for half a second before jumping down. Jumping off the cliff was indeed dangerous, but compared to being caught by the FA organization, he would choose to jump off the cliff 10,000 times. Boom! Charlotte's body smashed into the pool under the waterfall like a cannonball, and the huge impact almost made him faint. Just when his brain was dizzy and he was about to faint, the magical energy appeared in his brain again. His brain woke up in an instant, and there seemed to be more strength in his body. It felt like a machine that suddenly lost power, suddenly turned on its backup power. It was amazing. The water was cold, and Charlotte's body stopped when he was about to hit the rock at the bottom of the pool. At this time, bullets suddenly shot down from above his head. The bullets encountered resistance in the water, leaving a trail of bubbles. Charlotte hugged the rock at the bottom of the pool and shrank his body under the rock. Bullets whizzed down, and it was impossible to count how many there were. On the cliff, Yamosa suddenly raised a hand. "Stop!" All the freelance agents of the FA organization stopped shooting and stared at the rolling waterfall pool, but Charlotte didn't come out of the water. The water was flowing fast, and there was no blood staining the water. Charlotte seemed to have melted in the water and couldn't be found. Suddenly, there was a harsh siren in the distance, and an armed helicopter appeared in the sky. Yamosa sighed. Retreat. A large group of freelance agents of the FA organization disappeared into the dense forest. Chapter 587. Charlotte popped his head out of the pool under the waterfall and went downstream. Intense gunshots could be heard in the distance. This matter wouldn't start and end according to Yamosa's wishes. The Germans and the CIB weren't easy to deal with. Earlier, Yamosa led the FA organization agents to ambush the convoy escorting Charlotte, taking advantage of the terrain and heavy weapons. But now, the CIB and the German Special Forces intervened to search and kill the free agents of the FA organization from the air and on the ground. Who would be the final winner of this battle, and how many free agents of the FA organization could leave alive? Charlotte didn't care about these things anymore. The current situation was very good for him because the CIB and the Germans would think that the FA organization kidnapped him. The CIB and the Germans would hunt the free agents of the FA organization like crazy, and the only thing the free agents of the FA organization could do now was to escape. Therefore, whether it was the CIB, the Germans, or the free agents of the FA organization, they wouldn't hunt him down. The river was cold, and there was a lot of risk, but Charlotte didn't dare to climb out of the river, because only in the river could he leave here without leaving a trace. Once he climbed ashore, the footprints and blood he left behind would become clues for the Germans and the CIB to hunt him down. Another thing was that he could travel much faster in the river than if he were to limp and run on land. An hour later, Charlotte let go of a piece of wood he was holding, grabbed a branch on the shore, and then climbed ashore with the branch. This place was almost 10 kilometers away from the waterfall he escaped from. At this distance, although he wasn't completely out of the danger zone, there would definitely be no people searching for him here. Charlotte looked up at the sky and then quickly went into the woods on the riverbank. Now, he not only had to guard against the CIB agents and the Germans, but also the drones and satellites in the sky. Charlotte didn't go deep into the woods. After entering the woods, he stopped. He sat on the ground, tore open his pants, and revealed the wound on his thigh. The wound on his thigh was still bleeding, and there were signs of inflammation around the wound. Charlotte's left eye twitched slightly, and he soon saw the bullet hidden in the flesh. It was about 4 centimeters deep in the wound and could not be dug out by hand. If he had a pair of tweezers, it would be a lot easier to remove the bullet, but he had nothing on him except a gun. There were no surgical tools, no anesthesia, and no beautiful and sexy female nurses. There was nothing but trees and rocks in this environment. However, the bullet in the wound had to be removed and the bleeding had to be stopped. Otherwise, even a superhuman made of iron would die from excessive bleeding. Charlotte looked around and quickly locked onto a piece of rock fragment. It was very thin and looked very sharp. "This is it, my scalpel." Charlotte moved over and picked up the fragment of the rock. A minute later, Charlotte bit a wooden stick in his mouth and held the sharp rock fragment in his hand. Enduring the pain, he slowly cut open his wound. After cutting open the wound, Charlotte bit the wooden stick, put his right index finger into the bullet hole, and squeezed in little by little. This was an extremely painful process. Every time his finger moved forward, the pain doubled. The constant accumulation of pain tortured his nerves and destroyed his will. A normal person would never be able to endure this kind of pain because it exceeded the limit of pain that a human could endure. Under this level of pain, a normal person would have already fainted. It was impossible for him to continue. However, Xiaolei was still able to continue, because every time he was about to faint, his brain would release that magical energy, allowing his brain to maintain its normal operation and remain clear-headed. Charlotte's finger finally touched the bullet. His finger moved along the edge of the bullet, and then he dragged the bottom of the bullet and pulled it up. Blood flowed out, and the bullet came out of the wound. Huff! Huff! Charlotte gasped for breath. On one side, there was a heart-wrenching pain, but on the other side, his mind was very clear. He didn't even feel dizzy. This was a very strange state. Yamosa, this is what you gave me. If there is a chance, I will let you have a taste of this feeling. Charlotte said to himself. His face was covered with sweat, and he grimaced in pain, but there was still a trace of a cruel smile on his lips. Without any time to ease the pain, Charlotte took out the pistol that he took from Sean, removed the pistol's magazine, and took out 2 bullets. Then he found a stone and smashed open the 2 bullet casings. He poured gunpowder from one of the casings onto the stone, and the gunpowder from the other casings onto the wound on his left leg. 2 minutes later, Charlotte used a small stone to hit the gunpowder that was poured onto the big stone, and the pile of gunpowder immediately ignited. He placed a ball of hay that he had prepared on top of the burning gunpowder, and then placed the burning hay on the wound on his left leg. Hiss! A strange sound rang out, and the wound on his thigh burst into flames. Xiaolei hugged his left leg tightly, gritting his teeth so that he wouldn't let out a scream. At this point, the wound was treated. After Charlotte simply bandaged the wound with a piece of cloth, he followed the direction of the riverbed and walked downstream. Dusk fell. The city of Dusseldorf was brightly lit. Looking down from the night sky, it looked like a pearl in the Rhine River. Tonight was different from usual. There were many armed German soldiers in the streets and alleys of Dusseldorf. They were very sensitive to yellow-skinned people. Almost all yellow-skinned men would come forward to interrogate them, check their documents, and verify their identities. This was only on the surface. In places like subway stations, airports, and hotels, CIB agents in black suits did the same thing. They just didn't go forward to interrogate, but once they found a suspicious target, they would often approach the target quietly and surround the target. Whether it was the Germans or the CIB, they only had one goal, and that was Charlotte. The battle between the Germans and the CIB and the FA organization had long ended. They didn't catch the culprit of the ambush, Yamosa, but they confirmed one thing. Charlotte wasn't taken away by the FA organization. He escaped. Thus, there was this dragnet-like search that covered the sky and covered the earth. Now, the entire city of Dusseldorf was like a huge cage. Not only the CIB agents, but also the German police and soldiers, but also the CIB's spy satellites, and a large number of unmanned reconnaissance aircraft were in action. However, Charlotte disappeared. He was like a fish swimming into the sea. Where was Charlotte? The CIB and the Germans wanted to know the answer to this question. Long Bing and Tang Yuyin also wanted to know the answer. In the basement of a Chinese restaurant in Dusseldorf, a TV was playing the current news. On the TV screen, a female host stood in front of the gate of Rainmetal, interviewing a sexy German woman. Isn't that the German bitch? Tang Yuyin immediately recognized Sylvia, who was being interviewed. Long Bing looked at Sylvia on the TV and the Rainmetal sign behind her. Her eyes were cold. Miss Sylvia, I've received news that there was a serious accident at Rainmetal. The military and the police are now in action. Is it also because of this accident? Please tell us. It was the voice of the host. Sylvia said, a group of terrorists attacked Mr. Mark Amin's home. They tried to kidnap Mr. Mark Amin, but they didn't succeed. However, Mr. Charlotte, who came from China's Thunderhorse military factory to exchange technology with our company, was kidnapped by the terrorists. The military and the police are trying to rescue Mr. Xia. He's a very good person. I pray for him and hope he's safe. Is Mr. Mark Amin okay? He's receiving treatment in the hospital. That's why I'm standing here. He can't be interviewed in his current condition. Does this terrorist attack have anything to do with our refugee policy? Maybe, maybe not. I'm just an ordinary person. I don't know much about these things. I just hope that our military and the police can rescue Mr. Xia from the hands of those terrorists. The interview was still going on, but Tang Yuyan had already lost control of her emotions. She kicked a beer box and said angrily, "That bitch is lying. It was them who kidnapped Charlotte, but now she's saying that some terrorists kidnapped Charlotte. Shameless." Long Bing said coldly, "She's a German. In today's situation, what she said must have been arranged for her." Tang Yuyan kicked the beer box again, and the unlucky beer box was immediately smashed by her kick. According to our intelligence, the Germans and Americans didn't win the battle on that road. Now there are two possibilities. The first possibility is that Charlotte was taken away by those people. The second possibility is that Charlotte escaped while the two sides were fighting, Long Bing said. Tang Yuyan finally calmed down. Which possibility do you think it is? Now the streets outside are full of German soldiers and police, as well as CIB agents looking for people. Our intelligence personnel brought back information that German soldiers and police are interrogating young yellow-skinned people on the street, and some are even holding portraits of Charlotte in their hands. The CIB is looking for people at airports, subway stations, and hotels, and they even use several drones. Long Bing looked at Tang Yuyan. Which possibility do you think it is? Tang Yuyan also stared straight at Long Bing. You mean Charlotte escaped while the two sides were fighting? Long Bing nodded. There's a 90% chance. This seemed to be the reason why she had been calm. Then where is he right now? I don't know. Then let's go find him now. He must need our help. Tang Yuyan suddenly became excited. Calm down, Long Bing said coldly. Don't let hormones affect your intelligence. The streets are full of people looking for Charlotte. Do you think we aren't on the wanted list of the Germans and CIB? If we go out, not only will we not be able to help Charlotte, but we will also become his burden and bring him trouble. Are we just going to wait here? Yes, we have to stay here and wait. He knows this safe station, and he'll come find us. Are you sure he will come find us? I'm sure. You know him that well? At least better than you. Tang Yuyan stared at Long Bing and didn't say anything. She felt that Long Bing was showing off. Chapter 588. The street was quiet in the early morning, and the streetlights seemed lonely. A dark shadow suddenly jumped out from the green belt on the side of the road, limped across the road, and then crossed a field of grass to arrive in front of the house. The Frankberg and the CIB were both looking for Charlotte, but he was right under their noses. Charlotte went around to the back of the house, used a wire to pry open a window, and then jumped into the house. The house was large, and the decorations, furniture, and appliances were all high-end. It wasn't hard to tell this was a middle-class Frankberg home. Charlotte walked through the living room and into the kitchen. He found a bottle of juice and a cooked sausage in the fridge. He didn't care about washing his hands or any dining etiquette. He grabbed the sausage and started eating. Then he took a big gulp of juice. He was starving. A few minutes later, Charlotte was full, and he carefully climbed to the second floor. He came to the door of a room. His left eye twitched slightly, and the situation in the room suddenly entered his left eye's vision. The room behind the door was a bedroom, and there were two women lying on the bed. The two women hugged each other as they slept, and they looked very intimate and sweet. There were several silicone toys on the nightstand next to the bed, and they were scattered messily. There was a framed wedding photo on the wall above the nightstand, but there was no man in the photo, only two women. My God, this is a lesbian's home. Charlotte's eyebrows furrowed. He desperately needed a clean set of men's clothes, but he obviously couldn't get what he wanted in the home of two women. After hesitating for a moment, he finally gently pushed open the door and tiptoed to the bedside table with a lot of silicone toys on it. In the eyes of ordinary people, those were just toys to please women, but in his eyes, they were the main material for making human skin masks. A few minutes later, he left the room. Not only did he take the toys, but he also took a lot of makeup, a set of women's clothes, and a blonde wig, the light of dawn dispersed the darkness, and the sleeping city of Dusseldorf woke up. The blue Rhine River was like a ribbon, sparkling in the morning sun. A taxi pulled up on a street, and a tall blonde got out. She took out 20 euros from a lady's purse and handed it to the driver, then walked down the sidewalk. Two German policemen were walking towards them. One of them was talking into a walkie-talkie as he walked. The blonde brushed past two German policemen. "Stop!" A German policeman suddenly shouted. The blonde's body suddenly stiffened, and she looked back. Two German policemen quickly walked towards a young Asian man on the sidewalk. In the blink of an eye, they blocked the young Asian man in the middle. "Please show me your ID," a German policeman said. "Sorry, what did you say?" "I don't understand," the Asian youth said in Mandarin. "Identification. I really don't understand. Can you speak English? Or Korean is fine too." The blonde turned her head away and continued to walk. At the end of the street was a Chinese restaurant. It only operated lunch and dinner. It was morning, and there were no customers in the restaurant. When the blonde passed by the entrance of the restaurant, a waitress was mopping the floor with a mop, and a middle-aged Asian man stood behind the counter with a calculator. The blonde walked in. "Sorry, madam, we are not open for business yet," the waitress said in stiff German. The blonde didn't talk to her and walked directly to the middle-aged man. "Hello, madam, we're not open for business yet. Please come back at noon." The waitress chased after her, but didn't dare to reach out and grab the blonde. The man standing behind the counter looked up at Charlotte. His eyes were full of vigilance and alertness. He tentatively said, "Madam, what can I do for you? But as you can see, we're not open for business now." The blonde lowered her voice. "Where can I buy a home game ticket for Dusseldorf?" The blonde's voice was very strange. It sounded like a man and a woman, giving people a feeling of a transvestite. The man standing behind the counter was stunned for a moment. He then said, "What a coincidence. I'm also a fan of Dusseldorf. I happen to have an extra home game ticket. I can give it to you. How much are you willing to pay?" 21 euros, the blonde said. "Please follow me." The middle-aged man left the counter and walked into the restaurant. The blonde followed the middle-aged man into a warehouse. After entering the warehouse, the middle-aged man suddenly turned around and put a pistol against the blonde's head. He said coldly, "Who are you?" The blonde said in Mandarin, "You don't have enough authority. Let Chief Long come out to see me." Just now, the blonde was still speaking in a transvestite tone, but now it was a real man's accent, and he was speaking in authentic Mandarin. "You are." The middle-aged man seemed to have guessed the identity of the person in front of him, but he couldn't believe it was true, because he guessed that the person was a man who was being hunted by the Germans and the CIA in the city, but standing in front of him was a very real woman. She had a woman's face, towering breasts, and a very perky butt. The blonde pulled off the scarf around her neck, revealing a man's Adam's apple. The middle-aged man suddenly understood. He nodded, then turned around and walked to the corner. He pulled back a dirty rug and revealed a square plank. He opened the board, and a download channel suddenly appeared under the board. "Consultants, yeah, please come in. The two section chiefs are below." The middle-aged man's voice was mixed with respect. The blonde standing in front of him was indeed Charlotte, the consultant of 101 innings. With the skill of making human skin masks learned from his father, Xia Changhe, and the ability of his left eye, he could disguise himself as another person up to 90%. Now the Germans and the CIA were searching for him in the city of Dusseldorf, but he still came. Charlotte bent down and went into the underground passage. The middle-aged man covered the floor with a wooden board and carpet. There was no one in the basement, and a television was playing a news program. Between the two sofas were 2 bottles of German beer, a plate of braised meat, and a pile of peanuts. Some peanut shells were scattered on the table and the ground. It was obvious that someone had been drinking and watching the news. Charlotte stopped at the place where he was about to walk out of the underground passage. He said aloud, "Don't be nervous, it's me. I'm coming in now. Don't sneak up on me. I'm injured." As his voice fell, Long Bing and Tang Yuyan, who were hiding on both sides of the passage, suddenly appeared. Hearing his voice, Tang Yuyan and Long Bing were sure that Charlotte had come. But when they saw the blonde standing in front of them, the two women were stunned at the same time and stood still. Charlotte reached out and pulled off the human skin mask covering his face, revealing his original face. Phew! Long Bing heaved a long sigh of relief. Her heart was full of excitement, and tears of joy appeared in her eyes. Just yesterday, she thought that she would never see Charlotte again in this life, but now Charlotte appeared in front of her again. All of this was like a dream, and it was this dream of life and death that made her realize that she actually loved him so deeply, to the extent that it was inseparable. A smile appeared on the corner of Charlotte's mouth. It was sunny, natural, and full of self-confidence. Long Bing could no longer control her current emotions and walked toward Charlotte. Even if it was in front of Tang Yuyan, she still wanted to throw herself into his arms and kiss him. However, before Long Bing came to Charlotte's side, Tang Yuyan lost control first. She moaned and desperately threw herself into Charlotte's arms, hugging him tightly as though she was afraid that he would leave again. Long Bing suddenly froze on the spot, and the expression on her face was very strange. It was normal for her to do anything with Charlotte, because she was Charlotte's woman, and the number of times they had slept together had already reached double digits. But why was Tang Yuyan so close to Charlotte? Who was she to him? Charlotte was also very embarrassed. He wanted to hug Long Bing, but the one who burrowed into his arms was the daughter of the Tang family. Tang Yuyan was in his arms like a kitten, and he couldn't possibly push her away. Could he? Did you know? I thought I would never see you again in this life. Yesterday, when you put a gun to your head to save me, Tang Yuyan said "I" a few times, but she couldn't say the rest of the words. If Long Bing wasn't by her side, she might have said it. Long Bing cleared her throat. Tang Yuyan seemed to realize what she was doing. She blushed and let go of Charlotte. Then, she rolled her eyes at Long Bing and said, "What are you musing about? This is the deep friendship between comrades." Long Bing didn't say anything. She walked in front of Charlotte, suddenly hooked her arms around Charlotte's neck, and kissed Charlotte's lips. Who cares about Tang Yuyan? Who cares about Shinda Tianin? Let them stay aside. Lover? Third party? Let those worldly views go to hell. I am Long Bing, a woman who dares to love, hate, and take responsibility for what I do. Tang Yuyan stared at Charlotte, who was entangled with Long Bing and Charlotte. The hot and passionate kiss made her blush, and she felt like she was soaked in a jar of vinegar. Even the air was sour. Tang Yuyan cleared her throat. Long Bing didn't seem to hear Tang Yuyan's voice. It was fine if Tang Yuyan didn't make a sound, but once she did, she used her tongue to pry open Charlotte's teeth and stuck her tongue into Charlotte's mouth. Charlotte was at a loss. TSK. Hey, what are you two doing? Do you think I'm invisible? Tang Yuyan couldn't stand it anymore. Long Bing let go of Charlotte and said calmly, "What are you musing about? This is the deep friendship between comrades." Are you sure it's not a friendship between friends with benefits? Long Bing. Charlotte coughed awkwardly. Stop arguing. Let me tell you my plan. Escape plan? Long Bing said, CEO sure has already arranged it. We just need to wait here. Charlotte shook his head. No. Tang Yuyan and Long Bing's eyes focused on Charlotte's face at the same time. At this juncture, what other plan did he have? Chapter 589. 3 days later. Ray Metal. Boss Barbie seems to have lost her soul these days. I'm really worried about her. A mechanic whispered in the finishing workshop. His colleague looked at Sylvia, who was processing parts in front of a smart machine tool, and said, maybe it's because of that China kid. To be honest, after working with that China kid for such a long time, I think he's a good person. He's probably the best mechanic and electrical engineer in China, and I admire him a lot. It's a pity that such a good person was kidnapped by terrorists. If it weren't for the terrorists who kidnapped Mr. Xia, would we still have to work overtime here? If Mr. Xia was here, the project would have been finished long ago, but now we still have to work overtime to finish the work that should have been done by Mr. Xia. We don't have the skills that Mr. Xia has, so I hope nothing goes wrong. Even if something goes wrong, it can't be blamed on us. I'm just worried about our boss, Barbie. She seems to like that China kid a lot. Sigh, falling into the hands of terrorists, that China kid probably has no hope of survival. I'm afraid she won't be able to see that China kid for the rest of her life. It doesn't matter if she can't see him. She still has me. I could take care of her for the rest of her life. Hey, I'm still here. Even if I have to sleep with her, I should be the first in the queue, right? The two mechanics topic was getting further and further away from each other. At this time, Sylvia finished her work. She said loudly, "Everyone sort out the finished parts and send them to the Lei Long workshop, then get off work." The mechanics in the finishing workshop swiftly sorted out the process parts, sorted them into boxes, and sent them to the Lei Long workshop. The Lei Long workshop was the new workshop where Charlotte built the production line for the XL 2500 sniper rifle and the Gale assault rifle, as well as the Lei Long smart machine tool. However, the name Lei Long was given by Rainmetal after Charlotte was kidnapped. Sylvia also packed the process parts, and then took the box with the parts to Lei Long's workshop. In the Lei Long workshop, Mark Amin was talking with several senior engineers from Rainmetal. Seeing Sylvia come in, Mark Amin waved his hand and said, "Sylvia, come here for a moment." Sylvia put the box of parts on the ground and walked over. "Mr. Mark Amin, what can I do for you?" Mark Amin did not immediately say what was going on. Instead, he asked the senior engineers to leave. After the senior engineers left, he said, "Charlotte was kidnapped." "This?" Sylvia sneered. "Mr. Mark Amin, I was also there that day. I know very well whether Mr. Xia was kidnapped or not, so don't say that again. I have already accepted the media interview according to the statement you prepared for me. What do you want me to do? Is it not enough that I am lying and that my conscience is condemned by myself?" Mark Amin smiled. "Miss Sylvia, you're not doing this for me, but for the benefit of Germany. Politics has always been ugly, full of lies and deceit. Is that why you call me here?" "Of course not." Mark Amin said, "Charlotte is not here, so you will be responsible for the work he left behind. You must complete the production line for the XL 2500 sniper rifle and the Gale assault rifle. Also, the Lei Long intelligent machine tool is also very important. We paid a great price for it, so we have to make it worthwhile." Sylvia said, "Mr. Xia has almost finished the work, and the rest is not complicated. The engineers just now can finish it. You and Charlotte have worked together for the longest time, and you are also the best mechanic in our company. We have evaluated that it is better for you to finish the last part of the work. Don't refuse this matter. This is the company's decision, so carry it out." Mark Amin reached out and patted Sylvia's shoulder. He said with a smile, "Do this well, and the company will give you a promotion and raise your salary." Sylvia hesitated for a moment, but finally nodded. "From now on, you have the freedom to enter and exit this workshop until you finish the work Charlotte left behind. That's all, goodbye." Mark Amin left the Lei Long workshop. However, Sylvia was still standing there in a daze. "Boss Barbie," a mechanic said with a smile, "Congratulations. You must treat us to a drink after you get a promotion and a raise." Sylvia smiled and didn't say anything. The mechanics in the finishing workshop left the Lei Long workshop one after another, and Sylvia brought the parts that she had processed to the Lei Long intelligent machine tool that had yet to be assembled. Then, she stood there in a daze again. The Lei Long workshop was empty, but she seemed to see Charlotte's shadow. He was focused on his work, occasionally wiping the sweat on his forehead and smiling at her. Am I feeling guilty because of my conscience? Or have I fallen in love with him? Such a thought suddenly popped up in Sylvia's mind. She shook her head with a bitter smile and left the Lei Long workshop. There was no unforgettable love between her and Charlotte. Perhaps it was because she had lured Charlotte to Mark Amin's house and then lied to the media when they interviewed her. These things made her feel guilty. Perhaps she liked him a little. After all, which woman wouldn't like such an outstanding man? She didn't know why she couldn't get rid of Xia Lei in her heart. After leaving Rainmetal, Sylvia drove back to her home in Dusseldorf. Opening the door, Sylvia reached out to turn on the light. But before her hand touched the switch, the door behind her suddenly closed. Who is it? Sylvia suddenly became nervous and looked back. At that moment, A palm struck her carotid artery. She let out a muffled groan and fell weakly into the man's arms. "Huh!" With a light click, the light in the room was turned on. If Sylvia could open her eyes at that moment, she would see the man who had been lingering in her heart for the past few days standing in front of her. "I'm sorry. You can lie to the world for the benefit of Germany, and I will also do something against my conscience for the benefit of my motherland," Charlotte said. He picked Sylvia up and walked to her room. Sylvia couldn't hear what he said at all. Even if she woke up later, she wouldn't know what had happened. In Sylvia's room, Long Bing and Tang Yuyan had been waiting for Charlotte to bring people over. Long Bing carried a black box in her hand. When Charlotte put Sylvia on the bed, she opened the box. The box contained some of the things that Xia Lei had personally prepared over the past 3 days, such as the silicone gel for the leather mask, the dye for coloring, a high-class wig that had the same hairstyle as Sylvia's golden curly hair, and so on. Tang Yuyan took out a tape measure and measured Sylvia's height. She said 182 meters, only 73 centimeters shorter than you. If you wear flats, no one will notice. 3 centimeters, an extra curl was enough to make up for the wavy hair. "Leave this place to me," Charlotte said. "We have to leave Germany after tonight's operation. So, Frosty, you go and do what you need to do." Long Bing nodded. "I'll start the retreat plan now." Tang Yuyan asked, "Then what should I do?" Charlotte said, "I need to take off her clothes, including her underwear. I also need to know the measurements of her breasts and hips. Make sure you measure them clearly." Tang Yuyan's mouth slightly opened. "You even have to disguise her breasts and hips?" Xia Lei said, "I can make the buttocks a little simpler, but a woman's breasts are very attractive. Sylvia has a great figure, and many men will look at her breasts. If they suddenly shrink, no matter how well I make my face, it will still be a flaw." Tang Yuyan shrugged. "All right." She suddenly reached out and unzipped Sylvia's work uniform. Then she took off Sylvia's bra. Her snow-white and full breasts were exposed, and under the light, they looked like a work of art carved out of white jade. Long Bing, who had just walked to the door, looked back and smiled at Charlotte. Without saying anything, she disappeared at the door. Tang Yuyan quickly stripped Sylvia naked. She stared at Charlotte maliciously. "You got lucky." Charlotte smiled bitterly. "Let's get to work." An hour later, Sylvia's car arrived at the entrance of Rainmeadow again. The guard at the door saw Sylvia sitting in the driver's seat and greeted her with a smile. "Miss Sylvia, didn't you go home? Why are you here again?" Over time, Sylvia said, her voice sounding a little lazy. The guard checked the pass, opened the electronic door, and let Sylvia in. The guard did not know that the real Sylvia was lying naked on her bed, smiling at him, and the woman talking to him was actually a man. And it was this man that the German Secret Service and police, as well as the CIA, were looking for all over the world. Charlotte parked the car in the parking lot and walked straight to the Lei Long workshop. 2 armed guards stood at the entrance of the Lei Long workshop. Both of them stared at Xia Lei's chest, which was filled with silicone gel, with a smirk on their faces. "Miss Sylvia, what are you doing in the workshop so late at night?" one of the guards asked. Charlotte said, "I suddenly remembered that I have a very important job to deal with. I didn't want to come either, but I had no choice. Mr. Markamine gave me the job of that Chinese man, so I have to take responsibility." "I see," the other guard said with a smile. "We change shifts at 12. Are you interested in going for a drink?" "Sure, no problem. I'll probably leave early. I'll wait for you outside." Charlotte winked at the guard and handed him his pass. The guard just looked at it routinely and handed the pass to Charlotte. Charlotte put away the pass and entered the Lei Long workshop. He spat out a small electronic device in his mouth that could help him change his voice and said to himself, "If it was just a technology exchange, I wouldn't be here. But not only do you want my technology, but you also want my life. I have to do something to get some justice, right? You want the production line for the XL 2500 sniper rifle and the Storm assault rifle, and you want the Lei Long AI machine tool? Dream on." He strode toward the Lei Long AI machine tool that hadn't been assembled yet. Everything in the workshop was designed and manufactured by him. He knew very well that destroying something was equivalent to destroying everything. And to him, it was a very simple matter. Chapter 590. The core precision component of the Lei Long Smart Machine tool was the pure titanium component that was processed during the duel with Sylvia. Its precision requirement was 0.001 microns. This precision could not be processed at the moment. In the entire world, only Charlotte could process it. This ultra-precision component was currently on a small smart machine tool on the production line of the Gale assault rifle. Charlotte had shrunk it down. Without this ultra-precision core component, the Lei Long smart machine tool, weighing 500 tons, would become a pile of scrap metal. However, Charlotte did not stop there. He also made some inconspicuous modifications to the control program that he designed. Half an hour later, Charlotte walked out of the Lei Long workshop. "Sylvia, you finished it so quickly," a guard said with a smile. "It's nothing much. It's just a simple job," Charlotte said. His voice became that lazy and charming woman's voice again. The electronic device hidden in his mouth that could help him change the tone of his voice was a very advanced and practical product of China's espionage war. "Is our previous agreement still in effect?" Another guard had a smirk on his face. His gaze moved to Charlotte's chest. The place that was filled with silicone was ridiculously seductive. Charlotte rolled his eyes at the guard. Without saying anything, he swayed his hips and walked away. What does she mean? Will she still go for a drink with us? Are you an idiot? The look in her eyes just now was her attitude. Haha, she's a little slut. Don't worry, the three of us will have a good night tonight. The other guard laughed lewdly. In his mind, he had already imagined the scene. He was behind Sylvia, and the guy beside him was in front of Sylvia. Then, he would be below Sylvia, but in the messy imagination of the two guards, Charlotte drove Sylvia's car away from Rainmetal. The street lights were dim. Charlotte glanced at Rainmetal through the rearview mirror. It gradually disappeared from his sight. Rainmetal was Thunder Horsearm's opponent, but this opponent would be left behind by him in the near future, because he had installed the entire Rainmetal in his brain. Charlotte withdrew his gaze, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Half an hour later, Charlotte appeared in Sylvia's room again. Sylvia was still unconscious. She did not know that Charlotte was in front of her, nor did she know what had happened. She did not know what kind of changes her life would undergo because of this. Xiaolei quietly looked at Sylvia, who was lying on the bed. He had very complicated feelings in his heart. He had used Sylvia's identity to enter Rainmetal and destroy the intelligent machine tool. Secondly, it was the key to the production of the XL 2500 sniper rifle and the Gale assault rifle. Destroying the Lei Long smart machine tool was equivalent to cutting off Rainmetal's production of the XL 2500 sniper rifle and Gale assault rifle. This was unacceptable to the Frankfurt government, and she might face very serious charges. "I'm sorry, I had no choice but to do this. If I had a choice, I definitely would not have done this. You once expressed to me your desire to work at my company. I promise you here, the door of Thunder Horse Arms is always open for you. You can come at any time. I will compensate you for what you lost in Frankfurt," Charlotte said softly. Sylvia did not respond. She could not hear Charlotte's voice at all. Charlotte lifted the quilt, and Sylvia's body was suddenly exposed to his vision. All of Sylvia's clothes were on him, including her bra and panties, so the only thing she could cover her body at the moment was the little bit of golden grass. Although it was not the first time he saw her, her sexiness still had a strong impact. The towering snow peaks towering in front of her chest, the devastating gem embedded on the peak of the snow peaks, the flat belly that looked like it was smeared with cream, the plump and slender legs, and the mature area. Everything about her was still so beautiful that people could not help but be excited and want to do something to her. Charlotte stared at Sylvia's delicate body for a moment, then took off his clothes, bra, and panties. Starting from the bra and panties, he put them back on Sylvia's body piece by piece. Finally, he put on his own clothes and covered Sylvia with a quilt before going to her study. Charlotte observed the study for a moment, then took down a book from the bookshelf, A Song of Ice and Fire, that Sylvia had bookmarked. He took out the bookmark and wrote a paragraph on it. "Sylvia, if you encounter any difficulties, come to me. I will take care of you. You should know how to contact me." After writing that, Charlotte put the bookmark back on the page of his Song of Ice and Fire book. After leaving the study and passing by Sylvia's room, Charlotte glanced at her before turning to leave. Downstairs, an old station wagon opened its door. Charlotte got into the car, and the old station wagon started up and left quickly. "Is it done?" Long Bing, who was driving, asked. Charlotte nodded. "It's all done. This matter, don't worry, I won't report it to the higher-ups," Long Bing said. Tang Yuyin, who was sitting in the back seat with Charlotte, also said, "I won't tell on you, but you owe me a favor. How are you going to repay me?" Charlotte was speechless. Destroying Rainmetal's Lei Long smart machine tool and stopping the production of Rainmetal's XL 2500 sniper rifle and Gale assault rifle was in line with the interests of Rema Group, and it wasn't entirely revenge. However, such a thing was too big after all. Even if Charlotte did it flawlessly, if the higher-ups knew about it, there would inevitably be objections. What about Anina? Long Bing suddenly thought of her. Charlotte was silent for a moment. She has made her choice. She wants to stay in Germany. What happened these 2 days has nothing to do with her, and she has worked in the Lamar Army factory for a long time. The German side will definitely ask her for help, so I don't think she will have any trouble. Long Bing said, "It's good that there's no trouble. Let's go to the beach now and leave by boat. Boss sure has arranged everything." On the sofa in the back seat, Tang Yuyin touched Charlotte's thigh with her knee and whispered, "Charlotte, I have a question for you." "What's the question?" "In Mark Amin's house, you pointed a gun at your head and threatened the head of the CIA. You gave him 30 seconds. If he didn't let me and Long Bing go, would you shoot yourself?" Tang Yuyin looked at Charlotte, her eyes full of expectation and some feelings that she couldn't even describe. Charlotte smiled bitterly. "Why do you ask me this question? Do you think I want to point a gun at my head?" "I had no choice." Tang Yuyin hit Charlotte's waist with her arm again. "Just say whether you would or wouldn't." Charlotte thought for a moment and said, "I don't think so. We're not very familiar with each other. Would I shoot myself in the head for you?" "You guy." Tang Yuyin suddenly hit Charlotte's knee with her fist and said angrily, "Then let me ask you again. If I wasn't there, and only Long Bing was there, would you shoot?" Before Charlotte could answer, Long Bing said discontentedly, "Don't drag me into this. I'm just asking, why are you so nervous?" Tang Yuyin retorted and then hit Charlotte's waist again. "Tell me." Charlotte stammered. Would he shoot?" Even he hadn't thought about this question. How could he give an answer? Then let me put it another way. If the head of the CIA asked you to choose between me and Long Bing, and he could let the person you chose go, would you choose me or Long Bing? Charlotte. This question was even more impossible to answer. No matter who he chose, it would be a mistake, and this mistake would be realized immediately. Because Tang Yuyin was sitting next to him, if he said what he thought and chose Long Bing, Tang Yuyin would definitely greet him with her fist again. Long Bing said, "Yuyin, we're all comrades. Is it appropriate for you to let Charlotte make this choice? If the head of the CIA really asked Charlotte to choose, I'll let Charlotte choose you. Are you satisfied now?" Long Bing was still very understanding. Tang Yuyin curled up the corner of her mouth. "I knew he would choose you. Well, because you two have a deep friendship. Don't think I don't know." Humph. Long Bing and Charlotte didn't say anything. "Well, I'll find a time to ask Shanatianin out for tea and have a good chat with her," said Tang Yuyin. Charlotte was a little nervous. "What do you want to talk to her about?" "It's none of your business." Charlotte was speechless. In such a meaningless conversation, the old station wagon gradually disappeared into the distance. Dawn came, and the darkness receded. European mornings weren't as romantic as imagined. People who were supposed to go to work still had to climb out of bed and go to work. And the sun in the sky was still the same. It wouldn't get any bigger or any brighter. Sylvia got out of bed and rubbed her eyes. She was stunned for a long time before she blurted out, "How did I fall asleep? I remember. Did someone do that to me?" This thought suddenly popped up in her mind, and she hurriedly checked her body. Her clothes were all fine, and there was nothing out of the ordinary. She was still worried, so she took off her pants and checked a certain part of her body. The results were also normal. What exactly happened? Sylvia tried very hard to remember, but she couldn't remember anything. It felt like she had suddenly lost her memory of a certain period of time. An hour later, Sylvia drove to Rainmetal. It was a familiar workshop and familiar people, but she felt that something was missing. Mr. Xia, I'll finish the work you left behind. Trust me, I won't let you down, Sylvia said in her heart. Then, she walked toward the Thunder Dragon workshop. A new day had begun. No matter what, everyone's life had to continue. Chapter 591. A week later, in China, a warrior military off-road vehicle arrived at the gate of the Thunder Horse military factory. The factory guard stopped the car and saw Charlotte sitting inside. He greeted him and opened the door. The guard of the Thunder Horse military factory quickly called Lu Sheng. Then, a large group of people ran over from the direction of the office building. Lu Sheng, Qin Xiang, and other familiar faces. Seeing them again, Charlotte felt particularly warm in his heart. Among the crowd that came to welcome Charlotte, there was also a person he was most familiar with, and that was Shinda Tianin. He was a little surprised to see Shinda Tianin. During his time in Germany, Shinda Tianin took charge of Rema Group on his behalf, but she also had to manage the Wanxiang Group. The latter's business was obviously much larger and more complicated than the Rema Group's. Therefore, under normal circumstances, she should be in charge of the Wanxiang Group, but she was here. After a small surprise, Charlotte's heart was moved again. "Get out of the car," Long Bing, who drove Charlotte back, said. "I have to rush back to write the report." "Okay." Charlotte didn't say much. He opened the door and was ready to get out. At the same time, Tang Yin opened the door on the other side and was ready to get out. Long Bing frowned. "Tang Yin, what are you doing? Aren't you going back?" Tang Yin smiled. "We came all the way here and didn't even drink a glass of water. What's wrong with staying a little longer? You have to write the report, and I also have to write the report. I'm not in a hurry, so why are you in a hurry?" Long Bing looked at Charlotte, her eyes full of trouble and worry. Charlotte felt the same, but Tang Yin said that she wanted to stay. He couldn't tell her that she was not welcome here, could he? At this time, Shinda Tianin had already walked over. Charlotte quickly got out of the car and said with a smile, "Honey, I'm back." "Hubby," Shinda Tianin called out. No matter how many people were around, she got in his arms, a pair of soft hands also wrapped around his waist. Long Bing averted her gaze. Among all the women of Charlotte, she was the most magnanimous and the most open-minded one. However, when she saw Charlotte holding another woman, she inevitably felt a little sour in her heart and didn't want to see it. Shinta Tianin raised his head from Charlotte's arms and looked at the two women in the car. "Miss Tang, Miss Long, why don't you get out of the car?" "That," Long Bing said, "I still have to rush back to write the report." "Forget it." Tang Yin hesitated for a moment, then reached out and closed the car door. "I'm not staying either. I have to rush back to write the report." After a pause, she said, "Bing, what are you waiting for? Let's go." Long Bing looked back at Tang Yin with a strange look in her eyes. Tang Yin rolled her eyes at Long Bing and said, "Why are you looking at me? Let's go." "Do you want me to say something?" Long Bing heard the hidden meaning in these words. She didn't dare to stay any longer. She stepped on the clutch, put on the gear, stepped on the accelerator, and drove the brave SUV away as if she was fleeing. Shinta Tianin looked at the brave SUV that disappeared in the blink of an eye and said lightly, "They are so strange." Charlotte felt a headache and said, "They are not ordinary people. It's normal for them to be a little strange." "Really?" Charlotte didn't know what to say. He felt guilty and guilty. Fortunately, Qin Xiang and Lu Sheng came over to say hello and chat with him, which indirectly helped him out. "How was it in Germany?" Qin Xiang asked. "It was okay," Charlotte said, but the scenes of life and death appeared in his mind. "What about Anina and Ryu Yungnam?" Lu Sheng also asked. Charlotte said, "Ryu Yungnam is not feeling well. I gave him a few days off to let him have a good rest. He will come back in a few days." Anina stayed in Germany. "She won't come back. I will let Ryu Yungnam take over her position. After Masato comes back, he will be the chief engineer of the Thunder Horse Army factory." Ryu Yungnam was not sick, but he was frightened. He really needed to rest, so Charlotte gave him a vacation. Shinta Tianin took Charlotte's arm and said, "Come to my office with me. I will tell you some of the situation during this time, and then I have to go back to the Wanxiang group. When you come back, your company will be managed by you. Okay. Charlotte nodded in agreement. Whether it was Qin Xiang, Lu Sheng, or Shinatianin, none of them mentioned what happened in Germany, which was that he was kidnapped by terrorists. That matter was not actually hyped up abroad, but the German government did not want to bear the responsibility of breaking the contract, so they deliberately released some false news. However, this matter was completely closed in the country, and no media reported on it. Watching Shinatianin holding Charlotte's arm and walking to the office building, Qin Xiang sighed and said, "It's better not to be married. After getting married, I have to listen to my wife. It's so unfair." Lu Sheng smiled and said, "It's called one is willing to take the beating and the other is willing to take the beating. What's wrong with that?" "Lu Sheng, when are you getting married?" Qin Xiang looked at Lu Sheng. Lu Sheng was slightly stunned. "Me? He. I don't know if I'll have the chance in this life." He thought of Liang Xiao, the only woman he had ever liked in his life. After Liang Xiao and Charlotte broke up, he once thought that his chance had come, but after such a long time, he didn't even see Liang Xiao's face, and his heart gradually turned cold. Qin Xiang suddenly patted Lu Sheng on the shoulder and said with a smile, "I have something that you definitely won't like to hear, but I still have to say it. I know you like Liang Xiao, but even if she comes back, you won't have the chance. Forget her as soon as possible. Find a woman who loves you to warm your bed and give birth to your children. That's the life you want." Lu Sheng smiled bitterly and sighed softly. He knew that this was the real situation. Even if Liang Xiao came back, she would still only have Charlotte in her heart. It would be impossible for her to be together with him. Snatching a woman with Charlotte? He didn't even want to think about such a thing. In the office, Charlotte closed the door with his foot, held Shinta Tianyin in his arms, and bent down to kiss her cherry lips. Shinta Tianyin hadn't expected him to do that. She seemed a little flustered, but this panic only lasted for 2 or 3 seconds. After that, her body became soft, and her breathing became shorter. She also plunged into the happiness that Charlotte brought her, responding to him passionately, giving and taking at the same time. After a few minutes, Charlotte let go of her and said gently, "I missed you." Shinta Tianyin curled her lips. "You have Long Bing and Tang Yuyin to accompany you on your mission. They are both great beauties. Why would you miss me?" "Charlotte." Shinta Tianyin burst out laughing. "I'm joking with you. My man, I believe you. You are mine, and no one can take you away from me." Charlotte said, "You are also mine, and no one can take you away from me." All right. Let's not talk so much mushy words here. We have plenty of time to talk when we get home at night." Shinta Tianyin took Charlotte's hand and walked to the desk. She pressed him into the office chair and said with a smile, "Chairman Xia, sit down and listen to my report. You smell so good." Charlotte tilted his head and sniffed her firm breasts. Shinta Tianyin hit him. "Don't be naughty. Sit down." Charlotte sat down, but he acted like a child in kindergarten, waiting for the aunt to give him candy for his best performance. "You have been gone for almost 3 months, and the total profit of Rema Group is 130 million. It's not a gross profit, it's a pure profit. Not only did we deduct the expenses of labor and materials, but we also paid off the loans during this period." Shinta Tianyin had a smile on his face. Of course, she was very happy that her husband's company was so profitable. Charlotte said, "Alas, it's not easy to make money now. It's so little. I definitely don't make as much as you." Shinta Tianyin said, "You can't compare it like that. The total assets of Wanxiang Group are nearly 100 billion. With such a large capital in operation and tens of thousands of employees working, if you make more than me, I will have to hit my head against the wall. Your current profit level is actually very scary." Charlotte smiled. He was actually joking casually. He was already very satisfied to be able to make 130 million in 3 months. Shinta Tianyin put her arms around Charlotte's shoulders and pressed her full breasts on Charlotte's shoulders. She said in his ear, "We should be the most profitable couple in China now. No one can compare to us. You bring good fortune to your husband, and I bring good fortune to my wife. Of course, we're the most profitable couple in China. Charlotte said, "You're talkative again. Listen to me." Shinta Tianyin moved closer to Xia Lei's ear and blew hot air into his cochlea. "In the past 3 months, I've got to know your company very well. So, when you weren't in the company, I launched an expansion plan based on the situation of the Lima Group. I expanded several production lines for the Gale Assault Rifle and the XL 2500 Sniper Rifle. At present, the new workshop is already under construction. It's good that you're back. I think if you do it yourself, the production capacity of Lei Ma Jun's factory will quadruple in 2 months at most." Charlotte looked back at Shinta Tianyin with a strange look in his eyes. Shinta Tianyin was slightly stunned. Don't you like what I'm doing?" Charlotte suddenly stood up from the office chair, pushed the office chair away, and picked up Shinta Tianyin by the waist. As he walked to the lounge, he said, "Why wouldn't I like it? I'm just too happy. I originally wanted to expand it when I came back, but I didn't expect you to start doing it for me in advance. You're so good to me. What can I do to thank you?" Shinta Tianyin's face turned slightly red. "I know what bad thoughts you have in your stomach, but it's broad daylight now, and it's working hours. If someone comes in and sees us, she didn't dare to think further. Just thinking about it made her feel embarrassed and shy." Charlotte knocked open the door of the lounge with his foot, walked in with Shinta Tianyin in his arms, and then closed the door with his heel. Shinta Tianyin became even more nervous. "Hubby, do you really want it?" Charlotte said with a smile. "I have a hunch that this time, I'll definitely make your belly bulge." "Really?" Shinta Tianyin hesitated for a moment, then gently bit her cherry lips. "Then, I'll give it to you. I haven't given you any homework for 3 months. You must have been holding it in." Charlotte, pieces of clothes flew up one by one. Some fell to the ground, and some fell on the sofa. Shinta Tianyin's underwear was very naughty. It hung on the chandelier in the lounge. The mattress shook under the energy of love, making a soft sound and rippling gently. The sound echoed in the room, and every syllable was so happy and beautiful. It felt good to be home. Chapter 592. When the couple came out of the lounge, they saw Lu Sheng waiting at the door of the office. Shinta Tianyin's dimples were a little red, but she was also very clever. She pretended to sort out the documents on the desk and pretended that nothing had happened just now. Charlotte was also a little embarrassed. He said, "Lu Sheng, what's the matter?" Lu Sheng said, "Chairman Xia, the German ambassador, is here again. He's waiting outside the door now. He said he wants to see you. Do you want to see him? His identity is very special, so I came to ask your opinion." He didn't let the doorman deal with this kind of thing, which was actually very thoughtful. Charlotte thought for a moment and said, "Yes, you can ask him to come over." "Okay, I'll tell him now." Lu Sheng turned and left. Xia Lei's brows furrowed. The Germans are really fast. They found us so quickly. He had just returned to China, and the Germans already knew that he was back. It seemed that the German agents in China were really not weak. Maybe they had already been waiting near the Leimam military factory in his hometown before he returned to China. As soon as he appeared, the Germans would get the news as soon as possible. And he could not show up. After all, Rema Group still needed him to manage and operate, and he also needed to contact those customers in South America and the Middle East. In this case, it was impossible for him to hide it all. Seeing Charlotte frown, Shinta Tianyin walked to Charlotte's side and said worriedly, "Honey, is there any trouble?" Charlotte said, "The real trouble has already passed. Don't worry, I'll deal with the German ambassador. You go back first, I'll be back in the evening." "Okay, then I'll go back first. Remember to come home for dinner tonight." Shinta Tianyin fixed Charlotte's tie before leaving. Charlotte's matter involved 101 innings and some state secrets. She understood why he didn't want her to stay. There were some things that Charlotte couldn't tell her, even if she was his wife. After Shinta Tianyin, Charlotte called Ling Hao. "I really wanted to call you and talk to you, and then you called." It was Ling Hao's voice. As for the German mission, Long Bing and Tang Yuyan had gone back to 101 innings to submit, but Charlotte had yet to submit his mission to anyone. As soon as he returned, his first stop was the Thunder Horse military factory. He had his own thoughts. other than wanting to see Tianyin and understand the current situation of his Thunder Horse military factory. The most important thing was that he needed some time to sort out everything that had happened so that he could better complete his mission. Charlotte said, "Brother Ling, I originally planned to come and talk to you tomorrow. After everything that has happened, I want to relax." "I understand. That's why I didn't look for you even though I knew you were back," Ling Hao said. "But someone came to look for me." Charlotte went straight to the point. "The German ambassador, Philip. He's at the Thunder Horse military factory. The Germans also know you're back. They're really fast. I guess he's here to talk to me about the German engineering team. Without your instructions, I don't dare to make a statement." Charlotte said, "Brother Ling, if he talks about the German engineering team, what should I tell him?" Ling Hao was silent for a moment before he said, "Since you're back, we have no reason to detain these Germans. The production line for the Typhoon engine has also been completed. We don't need them anymore. If Philip talks to you about this, you can say that you can help him, and then we'll let them go. In this way, it'll be good for you." "Okay, I know what to do," Charlotte said. As soon as the two ended the call, Philip and his assistant Elita appeared at the door of the office. "It's very difficult to see you, Monsieur Summer," said Philip, opening in German. Charlotte smiled and said in German, "I'm lucky. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to see me for the rest of your life." Philip laughed dryly. "Mr. Xia, there are some misunderstandings. Please don't take it to heart." Charlotte sneered. "Yes, when I was in Germany, there were terrorists who pretended to be German special forces and the CIA to take me away from Mark Amin's birthday party. Then, the real German special forces and CIA agents ambushed the terrorists. Their goal was to save me." "Mr. Philip, is that what you want to say?" Not only did Philip's old face turn red, but even Elita felt embarrassed. In terms of what happened in Germany, it was the Germans who tore up the agreement and betrayed Charlotte. Before that, Charlotte was still building the production lines for the XL 2500 sniper rifle and the Gale assault rifle for the Germans, as well as building the Brontosaurus intelligent machine tool. These were all priceless technologies that the Germans wanted. However, some people in the German authorities did something like killing the donkey after it was no longer of use. Under these circumstances, facing Charlotte's sarcasm, how could the two Germans defend themselves? Charlotte said, "I'm lucky. I escaped back. Let's just forget about this. I don't plan on announcing it to the public. Please don't come to me again. There's nothing to talk about between us." "Don't be like this," Philip said. "Mr. Xia, I know you're unhappy, but we didn't have to make things like this. Now that you're back, our people are still here. I want to ask you to speak to them so that they can go back and reunite with their families." Charlotte laughed. "You treated me like that. If it wasn't for my luck, I would be dead now. Now you're still coming to me for help. Mr. Philip, do you think I'm such a good person?" "You're a good person. I have no doubt about that. Please, for the sake of those engineers' innocence, for the sake of their wives and children, speak to them." Philip looked at Charlotte with pleading eyes. Charlotte pretended to think for a moment before saying, "How about this? I can speak to them and let those Germans go home. But I have a condition." "What condition? Tell me." "My friend Anina has already returned to Germany. She doesn't plan on coming back. I want you to write a guarantee that no one will make trouble for her. Are you willing to write such a guarantee?" "I'm willing. I'll write it for you now. A guarantee in exchange for the German engineers to complete this difficult task." Of course, Philip was willing. Philip wrote the guarantee with Elita's help. A guarantee written by a German ambassador certainly didn't have much protection, but Charlotte's goal wasn't the guarantee. He wanted to send a signal to the Germans through Philip. "Although I won't announce it, if you do anything against me again, I will announce what happened in Germany." And this guarantee written and signed by the German ambassador, Philip, would become a hot piece of evidence that would be hyped by the media. Beep, 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 beep. The phone on the desk suddenly rang. Charlotte picked up the phone. Suddenly, a man's voice came through the phone in German. "Charlotte, you lied to us." This voice was Mark Amin's. "So it's you." Charlotte sneered. "What do you mean? I don't understand what you're saying. Stop pretending. Cunning Chinese." Mark Amin's voice was full of anger. "We assembled your Lei Long smart machine tool, but it burned the circuit board the first time it was driven. It can't be used at all. And your XL 2500 sniper rifle and Gale assault rifle production line. The XL 2500 sniper rifle and Gale assault rifle that we produced are simply rubbish, Charlotte said indifferently. That's your business. It has nothing to do with me. You lied to us. Now you're telling me it has nothing to do with you? Xia Lei said, if you give me some more time and wait for me to completely build the 2 production lines in the Thunder Dragon Smart Machine tool, then you can attack me. Wouldn't that be perfect? But you're too impatient. I haven't finished yet, and you can't wait to attack me. You think you can do it without me, but you can't. I don't want to talk nonsense with you. Tell me, how do you want to solve this matter? Charlotte said, well, how about this? You go to court and sue me. You. Mark Amin was so angry that he couldn't say anything. Is there anything else? If not, I'm hanging up. Also, don't call me again. I don't want to hear your voice. Charlotte said, wait. Mark Amin said, you've got the Typhoon engine technology, but we haven't got anything. This is not fair. You have to give us a solution that satisfies us, or else what? Charlotte laughed. Or else hand me over to the Americans, is that it? Let them come. I'm at the Thunder Horse military factory. They can come and catch me at any time. Okay, just you wait. This matter will not end like this. Mark Amin angrily hung up the phone. Charlotte put down the phone, and a disdainful smile appeared on his lips. Now, Mark Amin's threat was nothing to him. Who called? Philip, who had written the letter of guarantee, said tentatively, I heard you talking to someone in German. Mark Amin. Charlotte didn't hide it. He said there was a problem with the project I was doing at Raymetal, and he asked me to find a way to solve it. I don't know how to solve it. Mr. Philip, can you give me a suggestion? Philip shrugged. I don't have any suggestions for you. Those idiots did a very stupid thing, and they should take full responsibility. As for me, I'm only responsible for what I have to do. Okay, Mr. Xia, I've written the letter of guarantee and signed it. When can I see our people? Charlotte said, go back to the embassy first. I'll do it for you now. I think you'll see your people tomorrow. Thank you. Philip breathed a sigh of relief and left with Alita. The office suddenly became quiet. Charlotte sat on the sofa and crossed his legs. He thought to himself, the Germans will definitely not let this go. What will they do? They will make a big deal out of this. After all, they were the ones who betrayed me first. Probably Raymetal will send someone to talk to me. If they send someone over, for some reason, Sylvia's appearance suddenly appeared in his mind. She was the European version of Charami. Her sexiness needed at least 100 German words to describe. Chapter 593. In the evening, the spring sunset looked particularly beautiful. In the Lane house, a family sat at the dining table for dinner. Little Shui, don't you have a boyfriend? Shinta Tianin said with a smile. When are you going to bring him back for your brother and me to see? Let's check him for you. Yes, Charlotte suddenly remembered. Before the spring festival, I heard you mention him in Haiju. His name is Lu Zijing. You were classmates. Xia Shui said. He is my senior. Charlotte said with a smile. Yeah. Why didn't you bring him back? I also heard you say that you wanted to work in my company. I want to see what kind of kid can actually pursue my sister. Also, he wants to work in my company. I have to test his ability first. Xia Shui closed her mouth and didn't speak. What happened? Did you guys quarrel? Shinda Tianin was more careful than Charlotte. She seemed to notice something. Xia Shui said, we broke up. Charlotte was surprised. Why? Before the spring festival, he listened to Xia Shui's description. He felt that a kid from the mountains would become the son-in-law of the Xia family. He was worthy of Xia Shui's lifelong commitment. But he didn't even see the kid named Lu Zijing, and this matter fell apart. Xia Shui raised her mouth. Brother, our personalities are not compatible. I liked him at the beginning, but after dating for a while, I didn't feel anything. Charlotte still wanted to ask something, but Shinta Tianin kicked Charlotte gently under the table. Then, she leaned close to Charlotte's ear and said, Don't ask. Young people nowadays are like this. Besides, who is Xia Shui? She is the sister of the father of the China rifle. How could she not have high standards? If she wants to marry, she wants to marry a good man. Don't worry. Let her choose slowly. Charlotte smiled. Well, I won't ask. After a pause, he said to Xia Shui, however, love is love, but there are some things that need to be done. Do you remember? Xia Shui's face turned red, and she said, Brother, what are you talking about? I don't understand. Charlotte was also embarrassed. If you don't understand, then forget it. I'll get my wife to teach you later. Under the table, Shinta Tianyin kicked Charlotte lightly again. However, in her heart, she understood Charlotte's suggestion quite well. She thought that some things were inconvenient for him as a brother, but it was convenient for her as a sister-in-law. Brother, sister-in-law, I'm done eating. I'm going back to the house. Xia Shui, who was blushing, put down the bowl and chopsticks and was ready to leave. After all, she was an inexperienced girl. Even if she were to talk to her sister-in-law, Shinta Tianyin, about some things, she would still feel very embarrassed. Just thinking about it made her blush. Shinta Tianyin said, Go ahead. I'll talk to you later. Xia Shui responded and didn't dare to look at Shinta Tianyin's eyes. She left the dining room as if she was escaping. But before Xia Shui left, Fu Mingmei came in. Young master, there's someone named Ryu Yungnam looking for you. Do you want to see him? Yes, I'll wait for him in the study. You bring him to the study. Charlotte said, Well, I'll go right away. Fu Mingmei left. Husband, didn't you give him a holiday? Why did he come to the house to look for you? Shinta Tianyin asked casually. Ryu Yungnam was a senior talent that was dug up by the Thunder Horse Army factory. She had a certain impression of him. I don't know. I'll go to the study to see him. Charlotte also got up and left. Walking out of the dining room, Charlotte secretly said in his heart, I hope Masato is not here to build a house for Anina. Tianyin will definitely be unhappy if he knows. Coming to the study, Charlotte didn't wait for a few minutes before Ryu Yungnam came. Chairman Xia. Ryu Yungnam greeted him politely and looked slightly embarrassed. I came in a hurry and didn't have time to prepare any gifts. You see, I came empty-handed. Charlotte patted Ryu Yungnam's shoulder and said with a smile, Don't be so polite with me. In the future, no matter what you have to do, you can come here. We can drink tea, chat, and do anything. After experiencing life and death together, Charlotte had already regarded Ryu Yungnam as his brother. All right, thank you very much. Speaking of this, Ryu Yungnam suddenly smiled again. You see, I'm being polite with you again. I always forget this. I'm here to talk about business. This time, I'm here to talk to you about the stock market. Stock market. Charlotte was stunned for a moment because Rima Group was not listed. Ryu Yungnam said, Chairman Xia, I'm not talking about our Rima Group, but your wife's Wanxiang Group. What's going on? Charlotte was very curious and confused. At this time, Shinta Tianyin appeared at the door of the study with 2 cups of tea in her hand. She entered the study with a smile on her face. Why are you standing and talking? You didn't invite Masato to sit down. Sit down, Masato. I've made 2 cups of oolong tea for you. Thank you, sister-in-law. Ryu Yungnam hurriedly stretched out his hands to take the tea. It was an honor to drink tea made by the queen of Wanxiang Group. Shinta Tianyin brought the tea and said nothing. She turned around and was about to leave. Ryu Yungnam said, Sister-in-law, please wait. Shinta Tianyin said, I won't interfere with your men's discussion. You guys talk. Ryu Yungnam said, What I'm going to talk about is related to your company. Shinta Tianyin suddenly stopped and asked, What's the matter? Ryu Yungnam said, There are some signs of abnormality in the stock of Wanxiang Group. Tell me what's going on. Shinta Tianyin didn't intend to leave. She sat next to Charlotte. She glanced at Charlotte, who was next to her. She seemed to be a little curious. Charlotte didn't tell her, but Ryu Yungnam said it. Ryu Yungnam was a very smart person. He saw something in Shinta Tianyin's eyes, so he said, Sister-in-law, Chairman Xia doesn't know about this. I was just about to say it when you came. In fact, even if you didn't come, I would have asked Chairman Xia to invite you. Shinta Tianyin just smiled. Ryu Yungnam then said, Sister-in-law, I like to speculate in the stock market, and I've done some research in this area. I have some shares of the Wanxiang Group. Well, let me tell you this. I looked at the daily, weekly, and monthly K lines. I found that someone is buying a lot of shares of the Wanxiang Group. Sister-in-law, don't you think the Wanxiang Group has been rising too well recently? The stock market is falling. Our profits are very stable, and several projects have been launched during this time. Good news comes one after another, so it's normal for the stock price to rise. Shinta Tianin said. Ryu Yungnam said, if the whole market is good, then it's normal for a single stock to rise. But it's not normal for this kind of stock to rise against the market. In the stock market jargon, it's crazy to rise against the market. There must be a monster. Charlotte said, Masahiro, do you mean that someone is secretly buying the shares of the Wanxiang Group? Ryu Yungnam nodded. I guess so. The other party's trader is very smart, and his technique is quite sophisticated. If you don't look carefully, you really can't see it. The stock market has been falling for the past few days, and it has fallen below 3,000 points. It's easy for the shareholders to sell their shares. In this way, it's very easy for the other party to buy the shares of the Wanxiang Group. Shinta Tianin frowned. Did you find out which account is buying a lot of the Wanxiang Group shares? Ryu Yungnam said there are a lot of them. It's not one, but hundreds of them. These big investors have open accounts in different exchanges, but most of them are buying the shares of the Wanxiang Group. One account doesn't seem to be much, but if you add up the accounts of those big investors, the shares of the Wanxiang Group they have bought are almost touching the warning line. Shinta Tianin's expression suddenly turned solemn. She knew what the warning line Ryu Yungnam mentioned was. It was the warning line set by the board of directors of the Wanxiang Group. If the warning line was exceeded, it was likely that a stranger's seat would be added to the board. If this person didn't want to make money by speculating in the stock market, but aimed at her and the Wanxiang Group, then the situation would become very bad. Charlotte held Shinta Tianin's hand and said softly, Don't worry, I'll handle everything. Shinta Tianin nodded. Masahiro, is this really the case? Someone is secretly buying the shares of the Wanxiang Group to deal with me? Ryu Yungnam said, Sister-in-law, I don't know if anyone wants to deal with you, but I'm sure that someone is secretly buying the shares of the Wanxiang Group. Before coming here, I also talked with a friend of mine. Kai Yongjian, a trader of a fund company, is very good in this aspect. He and I have the same opinion. I feel that this matter is a bit serious, so I rushed here. If the fund company's traders all thought so, then this matter was basically true. Shinta Tianin's mood also became heavy. Masahiro, I'm not familiar with the stock market. Do you have any good suggestions for this situation? Charlotte said. Lu Zhongnan said, the simplest way is to buy it. If our opponents buy it, we also buy it. The result of this is that the stock price will soar. Whether it's our opponents or our opponents, we will both suffer from the bubble caused by the soaring stock price. Another way is to find the other party and negotiate with him to understand his motives, capital reserves, and so on. After understanding the situation, we'll have more choices. Such a thing has never happened before. Who could it be? Shinta Tianin suddenly asked. Her willowy eyebrows were deeply furrowed, looking like she had a lot on her mind. She seemed to be guessing someone, but she couldn't be sure. Charlotte said, Leave this matter to me. I'll find out who this person is. Masahiro, you're on vacation these days. Help me pay attention to the stock market. Ryu Yungnam said, No problem. I'll pay attention to it. I'll contact you and sister-in-law if there's anything. Thank you, Masahiro, said Shinta Tianin. Ryu Yungnam said with a smile, Sister-in-law, you don't have to be polite with me. I'm Director Xia's person, which means I'm your person. If you need me to do anything in the future, just tell me. Shinta Tianin said, Honey, can I borrow Masahiro for a few days? Charlotte shrugged and said, No problem. You can borrow him for as long as you want. Shinta Tianin showed a smile and said, That's settled. At this time, Xia Shui came in. Her eyes were originally on Charlotte and Shinta Tianin, but they soon moved to Ryu Yungnam. Shinta Tianin said, Little Shui, let me introduce you. This is your brother's assistant, Mr. Ryu Yungnam. Xia Shui smiled and said, No need to introduce. We know each other. Shinta Tianyin and Charlotte couldn't help but look at each other. They were very surprised. Xia Shui said with a smile, "Don't forget, I'm still my brother's secretary. I've been in the Thunder Horse Army factory for a long time. What's so strange about me knowing Masahiro?" She called him Masahiro, not Ryu Youngnam or Mr. Liu. It was not difficult to see that she and Ryu Youngnam were very familiar. Ryu Youngnam's expression was a little nervous, and his face was a little red. He stood up and said, "Little Shui, why are you here?" Xia Shui said with a smile, "This is my brother and sister-in-law's home. This is my home. Of course, I'm here." Ryu Youngnam smiled awkwardly. He seemed a little stupid in front of Xia Shui. Xia Shui said, "I want to go out for a walk. Are you free?" Yes. I'll go out with you." Ryu Youngnam agreed. Ryu Youngnam was abducted like this, and there were only the couple in a daze in the study. What's going on? Chapter 594. Washington, Langley, CIA Headquarters. Liang Xiao walked into the elevator. Just as she was about to close the elevator door, a woman suddenly walked into the elevator. Liang Xiao's gaze shifted to the woman, and she was immediately stunned. In her impression, this woman had died in Japan. She didn't expect that she would appear in front of her and even share an elevator with her. Gu Qian grinned at Liang Xiao. "Miss Liang, we meet again. You." Liang Xiao hadn't come back to her senses, and she couldn't believe her own eyes. "I'm still alive, Miss Liang. Are you surprised?" Gu Qian's mouth maintained a thought-provoking smile. "It's good that you're alive." Liang Xiao quickly calmed down and asked tentatively, "What are you doing here?" "This is where I work." "Can't I come?" Gu Qian said. "You have the authority to come here now? Who gave it to you?" "Mr. Sean." Gu Qian said. "I work for him now. Our cooperation ended when we were in Jerusalem, didn't it? I was lucky that time, and you didn't kill me." Liang Xiao's eyes turned cold. "You'd better think through your brain before you speak. Don't say it out loud now, or you'll regret it later." Gu Qian laughed. "Liang Xiao, I was afraid of you in the past because I was too weak and had to show weakness to you. Now, I don't need to worry about anything when I talk to you." Her meaning was clear. "I'm no longer the Gu Qian of the past. I'm not afraid of you now." Liang Xiao also sneered. "Strange, no matter how I look at you, you're still the Gu Qian of the past, arrogant and domineering. You used to have the ability to be arrogant and domineering, but what do you have now? You'd better be smart, or else the last bloodline of the Gu family will be cut off." "Are you threatening me?" "You can think what you like." I'll take that as a threat. However, I don't care." Gu Qian said. "I, Gu Qian, am back. You can tell Charlotte that I guess you still have feelings for him, right?" "What nonsense are you talking about?" Liang Xiao suddenly slapped Gu Qian's cheek. Gu Qian suddenly retreated. His body was like a nimble mountain cat, easily dodging Liang Xiao's slap. Liang Xiao was very surprised. The Gu Qian in front of her was really different from before. Not only was she agile, but she was also very confident. She felt that Gu Qian used to be like a Boy Scout, but now he had grown into a professional warrior. Gu Qian said coldly, "I've said it before, I'm no longer the Gu Qian of the past. No matter who wants my life, he will have to put his life on the line. You are no exception, Liang Xiao. Your skills are not bad. You dare to talk to me like this while pulling aggro. Then let me test your skills." Liang Xiao forced her way towards Gu Qian. There was no fear on Gu Qian's face. She placed her hand on her waist, ready to draw her gun at any time. Liang Xiao suddenly stopped. She had a trace of fear. The atmosphere in the elevator suddenly became tense. At this moment, the elevator door suddenly opened. Liang Xiao took a step back, shrugged and smiled. "You do have some ability, but if your confidence is based on this foundation, let me give you a warning, Gu Qian, you won't live long. I also believe in an old saying, that is, one who survives a great disaster is bound to have good fortune later on. You and Charlotte both want my life, but I'm still alive. I will settle the scores with you one by one." With that, Gu Qian walked out of the elevator. Liang Xiao thought to herself, this guy not only came back to life, but also became Xiao's person. She must be hiding some secret. What secret is it? Looks like I really have to send a message to Charlotte. Liang Xiao passed through several security checks with a heavy heart and entered a conference room. There were already several people sitting in the conference room. There was the new director of the American branch, Lampard, the director of the European branch, Xiao En, the director of the African branch, Robert, the director of the Oceania branch, and her, the director of the Asian branch. The senior executives of the CIB's intelligence department were all present. In addition to the intelligence department, the CIB also had the management department, the operations department, and the technology department. Among them, the intelligence department was the most important. The people in the intelligence department were required to have extremely high academic qualifications, as well as excellent military training and espionage skills. In addition to the senior executives of the intelligence department, Liang Xiao also saw Gu Qian, who was sitting next to Xiao En. This was abnormal because this was a closed-door meeting of the senior executives of the intelligence department. Gu Qian was not qualified to enter at all. Miss Liang, we haven't seen each other for a long time. Ever since you were promoted to the director of the Asian branch, I haven't had the time to congratulate you. I apologize for my lack of manners. Xiao En broke the silence in the conference room. Liang Xiao said faintly, there's no need for that. Miss Liang, I'm sure you know what happened in Germany. Can you tell me what information you have gathered? Sean's tone was questioning. Liang Xiao said, I haven't collected any information yet. If there is, I will tell you. Humph, Xiao En snorted softly. As the director of the Asian branch, you don't even know that Charlotte has fled back to China. Can you be any more negligent? It wasn't that Liang Xiao didn't know that Charlotte had returned to China. She just delayed this information before reporting it. Xiao En said again, the Germans learned about Charlotte's return before we did. Shouldn't you give us an explanation? What explanation should I give you? Liang Xiao said faintly, you are in charge of Europe, and I am in charge of Asia. When did you start to care about intelligence in Asia? Also, he was captured by you, but he was still able to escape. I think you're the one who should give us an explanation, right? Can you be any more negligent? You dashed Xiao and was furious. At that time, he was ambushed by the FA organization. The FA organization's freelance agents had the advantage of time and place, as well as heavy weapons. He couldn't stop the FA organization from sabotaging his operation at all, so Charlotte took advantage of the chaos between the two sides to escape. Now that Liang Xiao mentioned the past again, he felt ashamed. The door of the conference room was pushed open, and a bald man walked in. Several executives of the intelligence department in the conference room also stood up. This old man was the director of the CIB's intelligence department, Williams. In addition to his identity as the director of the CIB's intelligence department, he also had another identity. He was a rear admiral in the UA Navy. Williams wasn't tall, but he gave people a very capable feeling. His eyes were also as sharp and fierce as the bald eagle in the UA national emblem hanging on the wall of the conference room. Sit down. Williams sat in his exclusive seat and went straight to the point. Today, I called you all here mainly to announce two things. First, Liang Xiao, your position as the director of Asia has been dismissed. Liang Xiao suddenly froze on the spot. Your ability to work has been questioned, and we suspect that your work is mixed with personal feelings, so you're no longer suitable to be the director of intelligence in Asia. The management office has decided that Gu Qian will take over your job, Williams said. Liang Xiao's eyes moved to Gu Qian. Gu Qian was also looking at Liang Xiao. The two women's eyes met in the air. There was no sound, no sparks, but it was like two sharp sabers colliding. Gu Qian's mouth showed a hint of a proud smile. Williams then said, Liang Xiao, do you have any complaints? Liang Xiao shook her head. No, since you have already decided, then carry it out. Williams said, you will stay in the UA for the time being and wait for new work arrangements. Yes, Liang Xiao said. Let me talk about the second thing. Williams said, the production line for the XL 2500 sniper rifle and Gale assault rifle built by Charlotte in Germany, as well as the Thunder Dragon Smart Machine tool, have problems and can't be produced normally. The Germans are now very angry and dissatisfied with our insistence on arresting Charlotte ahead of schedule. Germany is our ally, and we have extensive cooperation. We have to find a way to get the technology for the Thunder Horse military factory. Gu Qian, you are now in charge of Asia. Do you have any suggestions? Gu Qian glanced at Liang Xiao and said with a sarcastic tone, Mr. Williams, since there is someone who is no longer qualified to stay here, why hasn't she left? I have a plan, but she is not qualified to listen. And if she hears it, it will bring great danger to my operation. At this moment, Liang Xiao wanted to rush up and tear Gu Qian's mouth. Williams said, Liang Xiao, you go out. You can't go abroad during this time. Yes, I understand. Liang Xiao got up and left. As she went out, she looked back at Gu Qian. Gu Qian sneered at Liang Xiao. This time, she was the winner, and Liang Xiao was the loser. Liang Xiao walked out of the meeting room, and the door closed automatically. She could no longer hear the conversation inside. Every room in this place had top-notch soundproofing. Even if she put a medical stethoscope against the door, she wouldn't be able to hear the conversation inside. Gu Qian said that she has a plan. This is probably the reason why Williams took a fancy to her and let her replace me, right? Williams actually restricted me from going abroad. This is a sign that he wants to make a move on me. I can't wait any longer. I have to see Charlotte. Liang Xiao thought as she walked. In the meeting room, Gu Qian stood up and said, Mr. Williams, my plan has actually started. Williams looked very surprised. What is your plan? You said that you have started the plan, but I don't know about it. What's going on? Gu Qian said, Mr. Williams, my father used to be the top entrepreneur in China. Our family is also one of the top families in China. I have many friends in China and many connections. My plan is based on these foundations. My plan is... A smile appeared on William's face. He felt that it was a very wise decision to let Gu Qian replace Liang Xiao. Chapter 595. 101 Innings Headquarters, Underground Shooting Range. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of gunfire was deafening. Bullets flew out from the muzzle and hit the bullseye 50 meters away. Long Bing's hand was steady when she fired, and there was no trembling. The gun only trembled a little when she fired continuously, and the recoil was almost negligible. After emptying a magazine, Long Bing took off her earmuffs and said approvingly, Lei, Thunder Horse Military Factory's pistols are much better than before. Give this one to me. It's very useful. Charlotte smiled. No problem. Keep it if you like it. Tang Yuyin said, Charlotte, you only gave Long Bing something when you invited us to test the gun. I don't think that's appropriate. Charlotte threw the gun in his hand to Tang Yuyin and said, I only brought 2 guns this time. You can have this one. Tang Yuyin also received the improved version of Thunder Horse Military Factory's pistol, and a small smile appeared on her face. How about coming to my house for dinner tonight? Charlotte was stunned. He couldn't reject her outright, but he couldn't agree either. Long Bing's gaze also moved to Tang Yuyin, and there was a strange look in her eyes. He was a married man, and you're inviting him to your house for dinner? Isn't this poaching too obvious? Bring your wife too, said Tang Yuyin. Charlotte shook his head and said politely, Forget it. Next time, I'll treat you next time. Tang Yuyin laughed. I knew you wouldn't dare to go. You're already in the late stages of being a henpecked husband. Charlotte was speechless. If Long Bing had invited him and Shinatianin to dinner, Charlotte would definitely have agreed. He would also bring Shinatianin because he wasn't worried about Long Bing. But Tang Yuyin was different. She was a ticking time bomb that could explode at any time. He carefully managed his love life. It was a little helpless and troublesome, but it was generally peaceful. He didn't want to break this delicate balance because of Tang Yuyin. Just then, a few people walked in from the entrance of the shooting range. Shi Boren and Ling Han were in the lead, followed by Tang Bochuan and someone they had never seen before. It was a skinny old man. He had a head of white hair, and it was shoulder length. He looked like an artist. For some reason, his eyes seemed to be a little unfocused, giving people a feeling that he was not concentrating. All in all, this old man gave off a very strange feeling. When Sherboran, Ling Han, and the old man appeared, Long Bing and Tang Yin reflexively stood up straight and saluted. Charlotte hesitated for a moment, but also stood up straight and raised his hand. His salute was crooked. It was more symbolic than it was practical. If Long Bing and Tang Yin saluted like this, they would definitely be scolded by Sherboran. But Charlotte wouldn't be scolded even if he didn't salute. This seemed to be a special privilege he enjoyed in 101 innings. That's him. Sherboran casually pointed at Charlotte. That's the guy. He single-handedly built Thunder Horse Military Factory. He also single-handedly brought us the Eurofighter Typhoon engine production line from Germany. So young. The younger generation will surpass us in time. A genius. A genius that's hard to come by in 100 years. The revival of a country and its people can't do without people like you. Huh. These words were all said by the old man. He didn't say them all in one breath, but said them in intervals. It gave people the feeling that it was said by several people. Charlotte thought to himself, who is this? He's so mysterious. Ling Han seemed to have guessed Charlotte's thoughts. He moved closer to Charlotte's ear and said in a low voice, he's the director of the Academy of Science, Mr. Fan Yiming. He's our country's national treasure. He's proficient in missile technology and fighter jet engine technology. He's also in charge of the Eurofighter Typhoon engine project the Germans are building on our side. If you have the chance, you should learn from him. Charlotte was in awe. He took the initiative to extend his hand and said with a smile, hello, Elder Fan. It's a pleasure to meet you. Fan Yiming shook hands with Charlotte. His wrinkled face was full of smiles. Little Xia, I've heard of your story a long time ago. I've always wanted to meet you. Unfortunately, I've been too busy and haven't been able to do so. Today, I had Ling Han bring me here to fulfill my wish. Haha, you're really not bad. I really like you, young man. Just now, he sounded like he was talking to a few people. Now, he was speaking very normally. The world of scientists wasn't something that normal people could understand. Charlotte said politely, Elder Fan, you flatter me. I'm here to express my gratitude to you. Thank you for solving our fighter jet engine problem. Also, I have another purpose. I want to invite you to join our Academy of Science. Fan Yiming said. Charlotte was stunned. What kind of place was a country's Academy of Science? If a country was compared to a plane, then the Academy of Science would be the engine of the plane. Its strength directly affected the performance of the plane. Those who could enter the Academy of Science were all old scientists who had made outstanding contributions in their field. Since the establishment of the Academy of Science, there hadn't been a single member under the age of 50. Charlotte was only in his 20s. If he joined the Academy of Science, not only in China, but in the entire world, he would be the youngest Academy of Science member. This kind of invitation really made Charlotte nervous. What? You don't want to go? Fan Yiming looked a little anxious. Charlotte came back to his senses. Elder Fan, it's not that I don't want to go. It's just that I don't have the qualifications to enter the Academy of Science. In terms of qualifications, you've long had it. Fan Yiming said, you created the world's most advanced Thunder Dragon intelligent lathe. You also created the world's leading XL 2500 sniper rifle and Gust assault rifle. Just based on these three achievements, you're qualified to join our Academy of Science. If a genius like you doesn't enter the Academy of Science and let us old antiques occupy the Academy of Science member positions, we'll lose face. Charlotte was a little hesitant. Join the Academy of Science? This idea was really tempting. Other things aside, just the title of an academician of the Academy of Sciences was an irresistible temptation. This was because it was a lifelong honor that would go down in history. In addition, once he joined the Academy of Science, he would be able to obtain more resources, and it would be much more convenient for him to research the ancient alloy. Seeing that Charlotte seemed to be a little tempted, Sherboran also became anxious. He said, Elder Fan, Charlotte is a member of our 101 innings. If he goes to your place, what will happen to my place? Fan Yiming said, Little sure. I have a good relationship with your father. Are you trying to steal him from me? In your department, you can find as many soldiers as you want. But in my place, it's harder than ascending to the heavens to recruit one person. If Charlotte goes to the Academy of Science, his contributions will be 10 times or even 100 times more than here. Yu Yin, Long Bing, Charlotte, don't you guys still have missions? Go, don't hide here and slack off. Sherboran kept winking at Tang Yuyin and Long Bing. Long Bing and Tang Yuyin obviously understood. The two girls suddenly grabbed Charlotte's arm and pulled him away. Hey, where are you taking him? Fan Yiming was so angry that his beard was trembling. Bring him back here. Sherboran put his arm around Fan Yiming's shoulder. Elder Fan, don't have any ideas about Charlotte. Let's talk in my office. I'll make you some tea, okay? Sherboran's gentleness was enough to give people goosebumps. Fan Yiming blew his beard. Ling Han couldn't help but smile bitterly. On one side was the nation's weapon of choice, 101 innings. On the other side was the nation's engine, the Academy of Science. It was hard to say which was more important, and neither could be left out. Unfortunately, there was only one such genius like Charlotte. Fan Yiming wanted him, but Sherboran didn't want to let him go. This was normal. It wasn't good for him to get involved. After walking out of the underground shooting range, Long Bing and Tang Yin still didn't let go of Charlotte's arm. Many of the special agents who came for training looked at the two section chiefs with strange expressions as they left with their consultant. Although no one said anything, they were already using their imaginations. Let go of me, there's so many people watching. Charlotte was very embarrassed. Long Bing let go, but Tang Yuyin didn't. She continued to hold on to Charlotte's arm, not minding the intimate contact between her breasts and Charlotte's arm. She even said, "You're a man, why are you so shy?" "I don't mind, so why do you mind?" "Let me tell you, you're not allowed to go to the Academy of Science. It's full of old men and very boring. You'll stay in 101 innings, and you'll have two great beauties to accompany you. Don't take it for granted." Charlotte was speechless. However, he was still a little moved by Fan Yiming's suggestion. Becoming the youngest scholar in the Academy of Science not only represented personal glory, but also the resources he could obtain from the Academy. Thunderhorse Military Factory wanted to expand quickly, and those resources were very important to him. A simple example was that he had the entire Rainmetal AG in his head. But if he wanted to expand Thunderhorse Military Factory to become a large international military enterprise like Rainmetal AG, it would be almost impossible to do so with just his own strength. He needed resources, national-level resources. "You really want to go?" Tang Yuyin seemed to have sensed Charlotte's thoughts. Charlotte said, "I'm thinking about it." Tang Yuyin let go of Charlotte's arm. Bing, persuade him. I'll give you some space. She really did leave after she finished speaking. Long Bing smiled wryly. She's even more nervous than me. Do you know why? Charlotte's face was also filled with a bitter smile. He'd always known that Tang Yuyin liked him. But the problem was, he was already married. Long Bing said, "I won't persuade you, but no matter what decision you make, I'll support you." Charlotte's heart was moved. He paused, then said, "Let's not talk about going to the Academy of Science for now. I have something I need your help with." "Why are you being so polite with me?" Long Bing rolled her eyes at Charlotte. "Speak, what is it?" Charlotte said, "Someone is secretly buying Vientiane Group's shares. They're targeting Tianyin. I want you to help me investigate who's secretly buying Vientiane Group's shares. Can you find out?" Long Bing said, "What's so difficult about that? 101 innings has enough authority to investigate. Leave this to me. I'll get someone to help you investigate who's buying Vientiane Group's shares." Charlotte smiled at her. "Then I'll wait for your news." Chapter 596. The day passed in waiting and thinking. In the evening, Charlotte drove back to Lane House alone. Shinta Tianyin hadn't returned home yet. Xia Shui and Ryu Yungnam were chatting under the shade of a tree. When she saw Charlotte, Xia Shui greeted Charlotte happily. Ryu Yungnam simply walked over. "Chairman Xia." It seemed that he was afraid that Charlotte would be unhappy that he was chatting with Xia Shui. Ryu Youngnam seemed a little nervous. Xiao Lei smiled. If you have anything to say, just say it. The smile on Charlotte's face seemed to dispel a little concern in Ryu Youngnam's heart. He sorted out his thoughts and said, Chairman Xia, we are basically familiar with the situation. Someone is secretly buying the shares of the Wanxiang Group. Now the stock market is in distress. A large number of retail investors are selling their shares of the Wanxiang Group. The average buying price of the other party is much lower than the current market price. This is a very troublesome thing. Did your friend tell you? Charlotte recalled. The trader of the fund company, named Kai Yongjian. Ryu Youngnam nodded. Yes, they have their own information channels, but he doesn't know much. He doesn't know who is secretly buying the shares of the Wanxiang Group, and he doesn't know the other party's capital reserve. Does Tianyi know? Sister-in-law knows about this. She is still holding a board meeting at the headquarters of the Wanxiang Group. Because I am not a member of the Wanxiang Group, I came back first. I rushed over to report this matter. It happened that Xia Shui came back too, so we chatted together. Ryu Youngnam looked a little nervous. Charlotte smiled and patted Ryu Youngnam's shoulder. I only have one sister. If she likes you, you have to treat her well, or I won't forgive you. This was a permission, and it also represented Charlotte's attitude. Ryu Youngnam smiled with joy. Chairman Xia, don't worry. I don't know what to say, but I can swear to God that I will treat Xia Shui well. The first time I saw her, Charlotte interrupted him. Go. Ryu Youngnam smiled embarrassedly and walked towards Xia Shui. Charlotte sighed softly. There was an indescribable feeling in his heart. Happiness and sadness coexisted at the same time. After his father, Xia Changhe, left, he played the role of a father and provided for Xia Shui to study. Now that Xia Shui had grown up, some things couldn't be decided by her brother. She had grown up, and it was time for him to let go. However, his heart was still full of worries. He was afraid that Xia Shui would meet a bad person and be hurt. As a matter of fact, any father who raised a daughter would have such a feeling. This was human nature and could not be avoided. Shinta Tianyin came back very late, and he looked tired. Charlotte went around to the back of the sofa and massaged her shoulders while comforting her. Don't worry, I have already asked Long Bing to help me check. I believe there will be results soon. As long as I find out who is secretly playing tricks, I can help you solve the problem. Husband, I suddenly feel so tired. It's so good to have you by my side. Shinta Tianyin's voice was soft. He had no strength and was full of tiredness. This was the tiredness from the heart. It couldn't be recovered by resting for a while. A strong woman like her was still a woman after all. At this time, she also needed a man's care and comfort. She also needed a sense of security. In this world, only Charlotte could give her this. No matter who it is, as long as I find out his identity, I won't let him have an easy time. No matter who wants to bully my wife, I won't tolerate it. Shinta Tianyin closed his eyes, the corners of his mouth curling into a smile. Charlotte gently massaged Shinta Tianyin's snow-white neck and said softly, "Let me tell you something. Today, the director of the Academy of Sciences, Mr. Fan Yiming, came to me and asked me to join the Academy of Sciences. What do you think?" Shinta Tianyin suddenly opened his eyes. "They want you to be an academician?" Charlotte nodded. "Probably. I'm thinking about it, but I don't know if I should agree or not." "Agree, why not?" Shinta Tianyin said excitedly. "Joining the Academy of Sciences is a lifelong honor. In the future, no matter what you do, this honor will give you extra points and let you shine. With the title of academician, people like Mu Jianfeng and Yi Kuan won't dare to make things difficult for you. These are just some of the benefits. The bigger benefit is that you can get more resources." She was indeed the queen of the Wanxiang Group. She had an extraordinary business sense. Charlotte only mentioned joining the Academy of Sciences, but she already saw the business opportunities and benefits. Charlotte also understood these benefits, but he was still a little reluctant to leave 101 innings. If I leave 101 innings, I will also lose something. This is really hard to decide. If he left 101 innings, he would lose the benefits of unconditional use of weapons and the permission to kill. This was definitely not a good thing for him, who was surrounded by strong enemies. A very simple example was if a CIB agent or a business rival hired a killer to deal with him, he could not casually shoot the other party like before. And in 101 innings, he was almost a person with a license to kill, and he could kill first and report later. Idiot, Shinta said with a smile. Did they ask you to give up your position in 101 innings? You could do both. Just treat it as one more part-time job. Your job in 101 innings, isn't it also part-time? Since you can work part-time in 101 innings, why can't you work part-time in the Academy of Sciences? These words made Charlotte's heart light up. It was as if the dark clouds had parted and he could see the sun. He could not help but laugh. Such a simple question. I thought it was too complicated. You were smarter. You solved the confusion in my heart in an instant. Shinta poked Charlotte with a finger. It's not that I am smarter than you, but you are in the perspective of being too concerned. Charlotte leaned over and kissed Shinta delicate forehead. Well, then I will listen to you. Let's go to the Academy of Sciences and find a part-time job. Hubby, let's go back to our room to sleep. It's getting late. Tomorrow. Sigh, we still have to face this troublesome matter tomorrow. Shinta sighed. Let me carry you. Charlotte went around to the sofa and picked up Shinta by the waist. Shinta hooked her arms around Charlotte's neck and quietly enjoyed Charlotte's embrace. His sturdy arms and hard chest muscles gave her quite a bit of stimulation. It made her flustered and itchy. Charlotte could not help but feel the same. Shinta thighs were in the crook of his arm. The plump and delicate feeling was like mutton fat jade. It was wonderful. Her soft breasts were gently pressed against his chest. It was a warm and soft feeling, which made him want to do fei-fei. Her full moon-like buttocks were falling down, and the place where they stopped was just below his lower abdomen. Every time he touched it, it would bring him an electric shock. This feeling made him want to keep holding her until the end of the world. Back in the room, the couple were entangled together like two eels in love. It took half an hour before the two stopped. Shinta was sweating all over. Hubby, what's wrong with you recently? You're getting more and more. What? That. Shinta jade dimples were full of red. I can't stand you anymore. Such words were not only a compliment to Charlotte, but also a seduction. Aya, you still want more? Wife, who asked you to be so charming? Charlotte fawned on his woman. At this time, even if the woman wanted the moon in the sky, the man would promise to pry a piece off. No, let me take a break. Shinta bones had turned soft, and his voice was soft and powerless. It's so strange. I haven't given you any supplements recently, so why are you? Aya, annoying. What was she trying to say? Even she couldn't figure it out herself. Ding-ling-ling, ding-ling-ling. Charlotte's cell phone suddenly rang. It was not until 50 seconds after the ringtone rang that Charlotte picked up his cell phone. Seeing that it was Long Bing calling, he slid the answer button. Lei, I found it. It was Long Bing's voice. Who? Charlotte's voice was a little breathless. Not only was he gasping, but Shinta was also gasping. Is Shinta by your side? It was Long Bing's voice. Well, she's asleep. Charlotte reached out to cover Shinta mouth. Hee. Long Bing inexplicably laughed, and then changed the topic. I found a result, but I'm afraid you won't be satisfied with it. Charlotte said, What's going on? There are a total of 122 big investors buying Wanxian Corporation shares. According to the stock market standard, anyone who buys 5% of a company's shares needs to raise their paddles. However, none of these big investors have bought more than 5%. Usually, they are between 1% and 3%. Some of them have more than 3%, but still less than 5%. So, this seems to be some normal stock speculation. Long Bing said, What about the information of these big investors? Yes, I also found it. I'll send it to your email later. However, they're all normal stock speculation accounts. There is nothing suspicious about the owners of these accounts. But what? You might find it strange, but those accounts that have more than 4% more or less have something to do with the Gu family. Charlotte suddenly frowned. I asked someone from the Economic Crime Investigation Department. He said that if someone is secretly manipulating this matter, that person's IQ should be very high and his methods should be very sophisticated. He said that on the surface, this is just a normal stock speculation, but once someone gathers the stocks of these big investors together, it will be a very troublesome matter. I'm afraid there will be a change in the board of directors of Wanxiang Group. Long Bing said. Charlotte was silent for a moment, then said, "How many shares do those big investors have in total?" "About 15%. If that person is now integrating the stocks of these big investors, he is already qualified to enter the board of directors of Wanxiang Group. According to the company law, a person with 3% of the shares is qualified to nominate a director, and that person with 15% is qualified to enter the board of directors." "Who do you think this person is?" Charlotte asked. "I know who you're guessing. To be honest, I also suspect it's her, but isn't she dead?" Long Bing said. "I'll think of a way to find out myself. That's all." Charlotte said. "Then I won't disturb your work. Good night." Long Bing hung up the phone. Charlotte was still in a daze, not doing anything. "Is it Long Bing?" Shintu Tianin's voice. "Yes." "What did she find out?" Charlotte told Shintu Tianin the results of Long Bing's investigation. "The method is really special. It's troublesome, but 15% is not enough to threaten my existence. Don't worry about it. We'll talk about work tomorrow. Let's sleep." Shintu Tianin hooked his arm around Charlotte's neck and gently hooked him down. Endless gentleness. Chapter 597. On one hand, there was the expansion of the Thunder Horse military factory. On the other hand, there was a commercial war against the Wanxiang Group, plus the secret gold project and the decision to go to the Academy of Sciences. These things were all on Charlotte's shoulders, making him busy and breathless. He had thought that after returning from Germany this time, he would have a relaxing vacation to relax. But this little wish obviously fell through. Among these things, Charlotte put Shintu Tianin's matter in the first place. On the second day after receiving the results of Long Bing's investigation, he asked Ryu Youngnam to invite Kai Yongjian to a tea house for tea. He was a young man who had just come out of college and worked for less than 2 years. He was gentle and had fair skin, a typical image of a white-collar urban worker. Kai Yongjian was also very polite. As soon as they met, he took the initiative to reach out his hands to shake hands with Charlotte. "Chairman Xia, I didn't expect to see you. You are my idol." Now, Charlotte was the idol of many young people. His fame was higher than some of the A-list stars. Charlotte said with a smile, sit down, let's have a chat." Ryu Youngnam said, "Our Chairman Xia is a very easygoing person. Yongjian, you don't have to be restrained. If you have anything to say, feel free to say it." Haha. Kai Yongjian still seemed a little restrained. If it had been 3 years ago, when Charlotte was still a poor worker working on a construction site, Kai Yongjian, as a white-collar worker, would probably not have looked at Charlotte. But now, in front of Charlotte, he felt unattainable and pressured. He could not be natural at all. After all, humans were a kind of animal, and it was an innate instinct for animals to fear the strong. A very simple example was that a deer could not be on an equal footing with a lion. Charlotte was the lion, and Kai Yongjian was just a deer. Charlotte didn't want to make friends with the fun company's trader. As soon as he sat down, he took out a bulging envelope from his briefcase and pushed it in front of Kai Yongjian. "Brother, there's $50,000 inside. Consider it a small token of my appreciation. Please accept it." Charlotte said, How can I accept it?" Kai Yongjian didn't reach for the envelope, but his eyes moved to the envelope. Ryu Youngnam picked up the envelope and placed it in Kai Yongjian's hands. "Yongjian, our Chairman Xia is a very generous person. If you help him, he won't forget about you. Then I'll accept it." Kai Yongjian smiled. 50,000 yuan was equivalent to a month's salary for a trader like him. He had earned an extra month's salary for no reason. Moreover, he was helping his idol. There was no reason for him to be unhappy. Seeing Kai Yongjian take the money, Charlotte said, "Brother, tell me everything you know." "Okay." Kai Yongjian continued, In the current situation where the market is falling, it's very easy for the other party to buy Wanxiang Group's shares. His cost will be lower and lower. This is very dangerous because once he accumulates enough shares, no matter if he sells them or makes other requests, it will be a problem for the Wanxiang Group. I don't know much about the stock market. Tell me, is there any way to solve it? Charlotte asked. Wanxiang Group's shareholders increase their holdings, but in this case, the stock price will soar. The other party's cost is very low, and he isn't afraid of Wanxiang Group doing this. If Wanxiang Group does this, not only will they lose a lot of money, but it will also accelerate the liquidation of the individual investors. Money shouldn't be a problem, Charlotte said. This isn't a problem that can be solved with money. The stock market has its own rules. Which stock in the stock market doesn't have a bubble? Including Wanxiang Group, its stock price is also very bubble. Raising the stock price will only speed up the bursting of the bubble. If the other party plays dirty tricks, the situation will be even worse. Kai Yongjian said. What dirty tricks? Using the media to spread bad news, such as a serious quality accident in one of Wanxiang Group's buildings, a project that violates the rules, the government is about to launch an investigation, and so on. These news will be hyped up by the media. The individual investors are all fence-sitters. They will go wherever the wind blows. As long as they think that Wanxiang Group's stock price is going to fall, who can sit still and not sell? Therefore, even if Wanxiang Group's shareholders increase their holdings, it won't solve the problem. Xiao Lei furrowed his brows. He has been preventing Rema Group from going public because he doesn't want to be controlled by the board of directors. Although going public can make a company grow quickly, there are also disadvantages. Wanxiang Group is an example. As an old listed company, its outstanding shares account for 100% of the company's shares. Once someone buys 51% of the shares, that person will replace Shinda Tianyin and become the new owner of Wanxiang Group. As for Shinda Tianyin, she can only abdicate and become a major shareholder. From the results of Long Bing's investigation, in this smoke-free war, the other party has been laying out plans since early on. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been discovered by the attentive Ryu Yungnam when it holds 15% of the shares. However, the other party has already launched a sneak attack, and Wanxiang Group only knew that something happened when the other party killed their way to the city gate. Ryu Yungnam said, Yongjin, we're old friends. I understand what you're saying. Just say something valuable. Kai Yongjin looked left and right, then lowered his voice. I secretly looked at a big shot's information. He has 2% of Wanxiang Group's shares. Charlotte's heart moved. What's his name? Do you have his detailed information? Kai Yongjian whispered. It's a client called Wang Song. He has 2% of Wanxiang Group's shares. Wang Song? The email that Long Bing sent him suddenly appeared in Charlotte's mind. There is indeed a person called Wang Song on it. However, according to the description in the email, this person called Wang Song is just a normal businessman. He has been trading stocks for 10 years. Kai Yongjian said again. But this Wang Song is just a puppet. He's someone subordinate. The shares in his account are also that person's. If that person wants to trade in a certain stock, he usually uses his subordinate's account to do it. He never does it himself. He's very familiar with our boss, so I know about this. What's the name of this person you're talking about? Gu Dinghai. After saying that, he fished out a folded A4 paper from his pocket and pushed it in front of Charlotte from the tea table. His address and phone number are on it. He likes to go to a private club called Bright Moon Palace to play. That's the favorite place for the capital's rich and powerful. The women, they're pretty good. Charlotte was still in a daze and didn't move. The email that Long Bing sent him didn't have a character named Gu Dinghai. If he hadn't bribed Kai Yongjian, and Kai Yongjian didn't know the secret of the fund company's big shot, this person called Gu Dinghai wouldn't have surfaced. When he heard this name, his first reaction was that it was Gu Dingshan's brother. Then he thought of Gu Qian. Don't tell me she really didn't die. But how is this possible? Charlotte and Long Bing had discussed it before. They also hypothesized it, but those hypotheses couldn't be verified. Whether Gu Qian was alive or dead, this had always been a suspense in his heart. Now, this suspense had also surfaced, and he also clearly saw the hand behind the scenes. Chairman Xia? Kai Yongjin cautiously called out. Charlotte came back to his senses. He picked up the slip of paper that Kai Yongjin gave him and opened it to take a look. Then he said, "Thank you, brother. You continue to help me keep an eye out. If you have any good suggestions, please contact Masao. You can rest assured that if you help me do things, I won't treat you badly." "Thank you, Chairman Xia," Kai Yongjin said with a smile. After sending Kai Yongjin away, Charlotte said to Ryu Youngnam, "Masao, go to the Heaven's Wings building and tell my wife what Kai Yongjin said. Let her prepare early. I'm going to meet that Guding Hai." Then, the two parted in front of the tea house. Ryu Youngnam drove to the Heaven's Wings building, while Charlotte drove to the Bright Moon Palace. On the way, Charlotte called Long Bing. Bing, help me investigate a person named Guding Hai. I want his detailed information." Charlotte went straight to the point when the phone was connected. "Give me 5 minutes. I'll call you back." Long Bing said this and then hung up. If he didn't know her character very well, Charlotte might have thought that she was angry about something. But Long Bing had always been like this. When she was cold, she was difficult to get close to, and people would think that she was difficult to get along with. But once she relaxed, her tenderness would flow like water, her passion would be as hot as the sun, and her wildness would be like a running horse, making him unable to resist. 5 minutes later, Long Bing really called Charlotte. "Hey, I found it. The person you're talking about is Gu Dingshan's cousin. He used to be a businessman in Haizhu, not famous. After Gu Dingshan made his fortune, he took care of him, and he also made a lot of money. Most of Gu Dinghai's assets are abroad, and only a small part is domestically, but it is estimated to be about 2 billion. Just domestic assets alone were 2 billion, so it was not surprising that Gu Dinghai could buy 3% of the Wanxiang Group stock." Charlotte thought for a moment and said, "After Gu Dingshan fell, no one investigated this Gu Dinghai? I don't believe that the money he made was clean." Long Bing said, "There should be an investigation. But Gu Dingshan disappeared at that time, and his body has not been found. When Gu Dingshan died, almost all those who had interest with the Gu family were not involved. The only ones who suffered were Gu Kawu and Gu Qin, as well as some assets under Gu Dingshan's name. But I believe that's definitely not all. At that time, if Gu Dingshan hadn't died, those who had interest with the Gu family would have fallen. But the problem was that Gu Dingshan was dead, and his body could not be found. In this way, the investigation clues were broken, and the most crucial witness was gone. So now it seemed that the Gu family's power had fallen and collapsed. But in fact, it was not. As long as Gu Qin was still alive, as long as she still had the ability to gather the Gu family's former interest group, she could command those people to do things for her. "Bing, I now believe that Gu Qin is not dead. She must still be alive." Charlotte sighed. "I also feel the same way," Long Bing said. Her voice suddenly turned cold. "She was lucky the last time, but the next time we meet, I will kill her for you. I'll go meet that Gu Dinghai now. Frosty, help me find out who Gu Dingshan once had a beneficial relationship with." "No problem." After a pause, Long Bing's voice suddenly became soft again. "I miss you. Come to my house for dinner. I'll make you scrambled eggs with tomatoes." "You learn how to scrambled eggs with tomatoes?" Charlotte said with a smile. "Are you laughing at me? If you say that again, I'll give you instant noodles." "Okay, no matter what you cook, I'll like it. I'll come over after I see Gu Dinghai. I'll take a bath first." Her voice was tender, warm, and slightly tempting. This sentence was like a magical spell that immediately awakened the exorcism pestle that could subdue demons and devils. Xiaolei lowered his head and glanced at that part. It was true. Its reaction was like a bamboo shoot after a spring rain. It was so cute that it couldn't be more adorable. Chapter 598. Like most private clubs, Bright Moon Palace's private club was located in a remote area. From the outside, it looked like a Qing dynasty official's mansion that had been sealed by a cultural relic protection unit. It was quiet, and elegant, exuding an ancient fragrance. However, this was just an illusion. As soon as one entered, one would know that it was actually a place of luxury and passion. Although the Chevrolet Suburban that Charlotte was driving was grand and beautiful, it was not a luxury car in the eyes of the Bright Moon Palace's security guard. He blocked Charlotte's Chevrolet Suburban off-road van. "Sir, we only accept members here. Do you have a membership card?" The burly, tough-looking security guard asked as he approached the driver's seat. "Can I spend money?" Charlotte asked. The security guard shook his head. "No, please leave." Although this sentence was said politely, there was a hint of coercion in his tone. Charlotte frowned. He reached into the inner pocket of his suit, took out an ID, and handed it to the security guard. The security guard opened the ID and was stunned. The ID that Charlotte gave him was a National Security Bureau ID. His identity was that of a National Security Bureau agent. This ID was, of course, fake. It was fake for 101 floors, but it was real for the outside world. Whoever dared to ignore its existence would have to bear the consequences. Charlotte reached out and said calmly, "This is my membership card. Can I go in now?" "Sir, this..." The security guard hesitated. Charlotte's face and eyes suddenly became cold. "I'm here to handle a case. Whoever gets in the way will be unlucky. Also, if you leak this, no matter who your boss is, you'll have to go to jail for 3 years. That's all I have to say. Open the door." The security guard suddenly trembled. Then he returned Charlotte's ID to Charlotte and opened the door. The rules of the club were important, but it was not worth it to go to jail for 3 years just to protect this rule. Moreover, with Cheen Howdong's identity, even his boss would not dare to offend him. Charlotte parked the car in the parking lot. There were many luxury cars parked in the parking lot. Lamborghinis, Bugatti Veyron, and so on. Each one was more luxurious than the last. His Chevrolet Suburban was like a bodyguard among a group of rich people in the parking lot, guarding them. Xiaolei entered the reception hall of the clubhouse, and a sexy woman in a lady's suit came up to him with a sweet smile on her pretty face. "Sir, the competition will start in a while. Would you like to have a drink first? Or you can take a look at the contestants' information so that you can make your choice." Competition? Charlotte did not know. The sexy woman looked at Charlotte with a strange expression. "Sir, is this your first time here?" "No, I've been here before, but I stayed abroad for a long time and just came back. I don't know much about the situation here," Charlotte said. "I see," the sexy woman said with a smile. "It's a fighting competition. The contestants come from all over the world, and they're all sexy and beautiful women. You can place bets, or you can pay them to wait on you. They will do anything for money." "Oh, that's interesting." Charlotte took out his wallet and took out $200 bills and handed them to the sexy woman. "This is your tip." "Thank you, sir." The sexy woman smiled happily. "Sir, I'll take you to the venue." Charlotte nodded and followed the sexy woman. He asked, "By the way, is my old friend Gu Dinghai here?" "Is Mr. Gu your old friend?" Charlotte said. "Of course, we've been friends for several years. Well, I also have business cooperation with him abroad." "What a coincidence. He came half an hour ago and is also in the venue. You can easily find him." The sexy woman had a good impression of Charlotte, the young rich man. She answered everything he asked and smiled all the time. The sexy woman took Charlotte out of the hall, into a corridor, and then into an elevator in the corridor. They took the elevator to an underground space. It was an underground bar with a bar counter, seats, and wine tables. There's also a T-shaped stage similar to a Victoria's Secret model show. At the end of the T-shaped stage was a huge iron cage. It looked very unconventional in this bar and was incompatible with the ambiguous style of the bar. However, its existence added a bit of violence and a special element to this underground bar, making it easy to distinguish it from other bars. When the sexy woman took Charlotte into the underground bar, an Eastern European woman was dancing on the T-shaped stage. It was a very simple but very attractive hip, twisting dance. She had almost no clothes on her body, and her triangular bra and thong could only cover her important parts. But with her twisting dance, a mysterious scenery was constantly exposed, which was extremely sexy. "Boss Gu is over there." The sexy woman raised her hand and pointed to a corner for Charlotte. Following her finger, Charlotte saw a middle-aged man with a slightly fat body. His face was somewhat similar to Gu Dingshan's. Beside him were two tall and strong black bodyguards. Standing behind him, they looked like two bears. He was Gu Dinghai. He looked at the Eastern European woman on the T-shaped stage with interest. He didn't realize that Charlotte had already stared at him. "Sir, would you like me to take you there?" The sexy woman seemed very polite. She seemed to have a lot of thoughts in her mind for a man who could tip $200 so casually. Charlotte smiled. "No, thank you. If I have time, I'll come to the hall to see you." The sexy woman pursed her lips and smiled. She even winked at Charlotte with her big eyeshadow eyes, then turned and walked away. Of course, Charlotte wouldn't look for her. He just said that to stop her from pestering him. Charlotte walked over to Gu Dinghai. Before he got close to Gu Dinghai, the two black bear-like black bodyguards noticed him. The two bodyguards stared at Charlotte with vigilance. When Charlotte was about to approach Gu Dinghai, one of the black bodyguards raised an arm and blocked Charlotte. The other black bodyguard said in broken Chinese, "Sit somewhere else." At this time, Gu Dinghai noticed Charlotte. He was slightly stunned, but soon calmed down. He said lightly, "It's okay. Let him sit." The black bodyguard who was blocking the way put down his arm. Charlotte sat opposite Gu Dinghai. "Mr. Xia, what would you like to drink?" Gu Dinghai smiled. "Red wine or whiskey? How about vodka?" Charlotte said, "You know I'm not here to drink." "Oh, you're not here to drink? You're here for me, aren't you?" Charlotte smiled. "You must know why I'm here for you, right?" "Yes, of course I know. But this is not the place to talk." "Well, the game is about to start. Let's watch the game first," Gu Dinghai said. Charlotte closed his mouth. This Gu Dinghai seemed to know from the beginning that he would come to him. He was not surprised, not nervous, and always very calm. This was a performance of confidence, but he couldn't think of what he could rely on. A gong sounded, and an Asian woman in a bikini walked out of the entrance of the catwalk. The host announced in a drawn-out voice, "Jungle Wolf, Man, Yue." The contestant from Thailand learned Muay Thai since childhood and is invincible in Thailand. Height 165 meters, weight 50 kilograms, 3 measurements 76 centimeters, 60 centimeters, 80 centimeters. The Thai female boxer, known as Man Yue, jumped on the T-shaped stage. Her two breasts were suddenly thrown up and then fell down heavily. Even when her feet landed on the T-shaped stage, they were still trembling. Then she waved her fist to greet the audience. Some people applauded for her, and some people bet on her. Man Yue walked into the iron cage, twisting her waist and hips and stretching her legs. She only had a set of bikini underwear on her body. Her warm-up movements made the indentations between her legs and the bumps on her breasts faintly visible. It was extremely seductive. The host then announced in a drawn-out voice, "Red Rose, Bobo Eva." The contestant from Russia learned boxing since childhood and won third place in the Olympic Games. Height 8 meters, weight 130 kilograms, 3 measurements 81 centimeters, 65 centimeters, 84 centimeters. Bobo Eva walked onto the T-shaped stage. When she walked to the center, she suddenly turned sideways and gave a side-high kick. One of her jade legs straightened in the air, and her buttocks tightened. The muscle lines of her legs were very obvious. But these were not what attracted the audience. What attracted the audience was the black bikini on her body. Under her movements, it suddenly tightened, so that the layer of fabric became another layer of her skin. The shape of that part was outlined vividly and very tempting. There were also people applauding for her and betting on her. This was the world of the rich. There were only things that ordinary people couldn't think of, and there was nothing they couldn't play. "Mr. Xia, aren't you going to bet?" Gu Dinghai's eyes moved from the iron cage to Charlotte's body. Charlotte said, "Is it interesting to play like this?" Gu Dinghai sneered. "Mr. Xia, you make so much money. If you don't use it to play, what's the point of making money? Let's step aside and talk." Charlotte had lost his patience. "The game has begun," Gu Dinghai said. Another gong sounded, and the two women in the iron cage entered the state of fighting. The two women swept away their coquettish and charming appearances from before and turned into fierce boxers. They fought in the iron cage, with their fists hitting the flesh, throwing, cross-locking, and kicking performed one after another. For a time, the iron cage was full of spring scenery. The women's sexiness and the bloody fighting scene mixed together, stimulating the nerves of the men all the time. Mr. Xia, I bet $1 million on that Russian woman. Do you think I will win? Gu Dinghai looked at Charlotte again. You will lose, Charlotte said. However, just as he finished speaking, the Russian female boxer, Boboeva, threw a heavy punch at the Thai female boxer, Man Yahweh, before she fell into the cage. The referee blocked Boboeva and counted down the seconds for Man Yahweh. You won so quickly. It seemed that your eyes are not good. Gu Dinghai's mouth had a hint of disdain. Charlotte smiled. I said, I'm not interested in the game here. I'm talking about you. You will lose. Gu Dinghai's eyes turned cold. Mr. Xia, I don't know what you're talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Gu Dinghai sneered. I'm not my brother. I'm more careful than him, and I do legitimate business. What do you do to me? Chapter 599. All right, since you put it that way, Charlotte said, I won't beat around the bush with you. Gu Qian wants you to buy Vientiane Group shares. There are many rich people like you. What's she trying to do? Gu Dinghai laughed coldly. How would I know? I don't have a single Vientiane Group share. I don't even understand what you're saying. Stop pretending. I've already found out. It's one of your people, a man named Wang Song. He bought about 2% of Vientiane Group shares. Huh? When did this guy get so rich? I wouldn't have known if you didn't tell me. I'll ask him later. There are many rich people like you. I'm sure Gu Qian wants you to do this. Tell me, what is she trying to do? Where is she? Gu Dinghai said mockingly. How would I know where she is? You should be on the radio putting out a missing person ad, not asking me. Charlotte suppressed the anger in his heart. Mr. Gu, you're a smart man. Let me tell you this. Don't think that I can't do anything to you just because you're doing normal business. Gu Qian has defected to the American CIA. She has committed the crime of treason. You're working for her. It doesn't matter to me whether you're doing it legally or illegally. If I want to mess with you, I can do it at any time. Are you threatening me? Gu Dinghai's attitude was still tough. I don't believe you can do whatever you want and ignore the law. Sort of. If I can kill your brother, I can do the same to you. Charlotte's voice was cold. These words angered Gu Dinghai. He slammed the table and pointed at Charlotte's nose. Get out of here. Looks like you've made your decision. Xiaolei suddenly reached out and grabbed hold of Gu Dinghai's necktie. He pulled hard and Gu Dinghai was pulled onto the wine table. Gu Dinghai's head hit the wine table heavily. The two bodyguards behind Gu Dinghai moved at the same time. The one on the left took a big step forward and swung his fist at Charlotte's head. Charlotte let go of Gu Dinghai's tie and threw a punch at him. The two fists collided in the air. With a muffled thud, the black bodyguard, who was as strong as a black bear, took 2 steps back. His face was filled with horror. He could not believe that Charlotte, who looked much weaker than him, could actually beat him back with one punch. Furthermore, not only was he knocked back, the intense pain in his fist made him suspect that his finger bones had been injured. The 1-inch punch of Wing Chun was not something that black people could understand. The reason why Bruce Lee was able to punch through the wooden board at a distance of 7 inches was because of the 1-inch punch of Wing Chun. The other black bodyguard's fist also arrived in front of Charlotte's face, just after his companion was knocked back. Charlotte tilted his head, and a big fist brushed past his ear. He suddenly loosened his grip on Gu Dinghai's tie. From the bottom up, he used the second knuckle of his thumb to hit the numbing point on the other bodyguard's elbow. With such a simple attack, the second black bodyguard immediately covered his elbow and stepped back. He looked at Charlotte with horror in his eyes. However, since he had taken someone's money, he had to help. The 2 black bodyguards knew that Charlotte was a hidden master. They were far from being a match for Charlotte, but in front of the humiliated Gu Dinghai, they only paused for a moment. Then, they braced themselves and rushed forward. Charlotte said coldly, "If you want to live with one hand for the rest of your life, then come here. The two black bodyguards braced themselves and went forward. Gu Dinghai raised his hand. Stand down. The two black bodyguards secretly breathed a sigh of relief. They stood behind Gu Dinghai. One was rubbing his injured finger bones, and the other was rubbing his elbow that seemed to have been injected with anesthetic. You're very good. Gu Dinghai straightened his tie that Charlotte had pulled. There was a mocking smile on his face. But, do you want to solve your wife's problem in a violent way? If so, I have nothing to say. You can beat me up now. Could beating Gu Dinghai up solve the problem? Obviously not. Vientiane Group was a large listed company in the country. Its circulating shares accounted for 100% of Vientiane Group's total shares. In other words, as long as one had money, anyone could invest in Vientiane Group's shares. As an investor, it didn't matter if Gu Dinghai used his own account to buy Vientiane Group's shares or borrowed someone else's account to buy Vientiane Group's shares. He was doing a legitimate investment and was protected by the law. No one could interfere. If Gu Dinghai was forced to sell his Vientiane Group shares, it would be a forced sale. It would be against the law. In fact, Charlotte was in a very passive position when it came to Shinto Tianin's troublesome situation. Whether he took the initiative to attack or retreated to defend, he couldn't gain the upper hand and was restrained in every way. He had come here to look for Gu Dinghai with the intention of intimidating him. If Gu Dinghai was scared and didn't want to do it anymore, then his decision would become a reference for the other big families. Then, he could use the lowest cost to help Shinto Tianin solve his problem. But now, it seemed that this trick wouldn't work at all. However, what was worse was that he didn't have a better idea other than the one in front of him. A few unidentified men in black suits walked over. Gu Dinghai raised his hand again, and the men stopped in their tracks. They just stood at a distance and didn't come over. One of them was even speaking into a walkie-talkie. Xia Lei's gaze went to the person speaking into the walkie-talkie. Without any hesitation, he used his lip-reading skills to decipher his words. Boss, someone is being rough with Mr. Gu. It's a new face. He might not be one of our members. Yes, I know what to do. So it was someone from this private club. Charlotte's interest waned, and he retracted his gaze. At this time, Gu Dinghai's aura rose. Mr. Xia, you should be glad that your Rema Group isn't a listed company. Otherwise, we could have kicked you out of Rema Group too. So Gu Qian's goal is to take over Vientiane Group. Charlotte was so angry that he laughed. Her naivety will cause you guys to die with her. Some things belong to the Gu family. If the Gu family can't get it, then no one can. Then let's try, Charlotte said. Let me give you a piece of advice, Mr. Xia. Business matters should be solved using business methods. Let's meet in the stock market. Oh, Gu Dinghai suddenly slapped his forehead, then laughed. I almost forgot. You don't know how to trade stocks. You only know how to process parts. In this war, your wife is the target of the hunt. And as an outsider, you can only stand aside and watch. You can't help it all. Ring, ring, ring. Ring, ring, ring. Charlotte's phone suddenly rang. The call was from Shinto Tianin. Hubby, where are you? Something's happened. Shinto Tianin's tone was very anxious. Don't panic. What happened? Charlotte stood up and walked to an empty corner. I have a group of reporters here. They're from a major financial newspapers. They're here to interview me and ask me. Ask me? Ask you what? They seem to know the inside story of the acquisitions that Gu Qian and I did in the past. I can't answer them. But once this negative news is reported, Vientiane Group's share price will definitely plummet. And we're fighting with those big players to buy our own shares at this time. We need to raise the share price, but this negative news can be a bad booster. Charlotte was silent for a moment before saying, If those things are exposed, how serious will the consequences be? Didn't you say that those things were destroyed? Tianin, there was an accident. Those things might not have been destroyed. Also, Gu Qian might still be alive. This could be related to her. Charlotte didn't want to tell her, but now that things had developed to this point, he couldn't hide it even if he wanted to. How could this be? Shinto Tianin's voice was full of disappointment and anxiety. Charlotte had never seen her react like this before. It made his heart ache, but he had to stay calm at this time. He took a deep breath. Tianin, tell me, if all my assumptions are true, how serious will the consequences be? If your assumptions are true, those things will destroy me. The first thing that will be destroyed is Vientiane Group's share price. If those negative news are reported, we won't be able to support our share price no matter how much cash we have. If individual investors cut off their flesh and run away, the other party will be able to eat up our shares quickly without a high cost. Then it'll be me. I'll be questioned by the board of directors and then investigated. How could this be? Tianyin showed signs of breaking down. Don't worry, I'll solve the problem for you. This was all Charlotte could say. Why is there music at your place? Where are you? A bar. You don't misunderstand. I'm looking for someone. He's dude. Before Charlotte could finish speaking, Tianyin had already hung up. The feeling of being misunderstood by his wife was very uncomfortable. In that instant, Charlotte's heart broke. However, he could also understand Tianyin. Vientiane Group was more important to her than anything else. Now that something like this had happened, she was more upset than anyone else. At this moment, the men in black suits suddenly walked over and blocked Charlotte's way. Scram! Charlotte was in a terrible mood. These people hadn't done anything yet, but they had already angered him. The person holding the walkie-talkie suddenly said loudly, "Isn't that Charlotte? Tianyin's husband, the father of rifles in China." As soon as this sentence was spoken, it immediately attracted a lot of attention. At some point, the fight in the metal cage had also ended. The two female boxers covered in scars also looked in Charlotte's direction. "Welcome to our new member, our most distinguished guest, Mr. Xia. Lei Xia." The host dragged out his voice and used an exaggerated tone to announce Charlotte's name. A few dancers suddenly came out from the crowd and surrounded Charlotte. Some reached out to pull Charlotte's arm, some stuck to Charlotte's body, and some hooked their hand around Charlotte's shoulders. Before Charlotte could push these dancers away, a few people with cameras started taking pictures of the chaotic scene. Click, 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 the electronic flashes kept flashing. Chapter 600. Sexy and enchanting dancers, noisy audiences, people taking pictures, people glaring like tigers and flashing lights. All these elements gathered together like a colorful whirlpool exuding a strong smell of hormones. And all of a sudden, Charlotte sank into the abyss. But Charlotte, who was in the center of the whirlpool, was abnormally calm. Just now, he was still angry, but now he was calm. Not only was he calm, but his mind was suddenly clear. This place, this club called Mingyue Palace, it was related to Gu Qian. This was one of Gu Qian's lair. Some of the members here might also be related to Gu Qian. At this moment, among the people watching the show, there might be a big shot like Gu Dinghai, who bought a lot of Wanxiang Group's shares. What a romantic person. He married a wife like Tianyin, and yet he still comes out to fool around. In the crowd, a woman came up with such a sentence. This sentence seemed to have activated the language pack. Yeah, Tianyin doesn't cherish such an excellent woman, but sneaks out to fool around. I really don't know what he's thinking. Someone said, the newspaper praised him as a national hero, as great as a god. So he is such a person. Does he usually live with a mask? Why would Tianyin like such a man? There's a mess of comments. These discussions belittled Xia Lei to the point that he had nothing good in him, that he was bad from head to toe. Faced with these cynicism, Charlotte's mood did not change at all. His eyes swept across the faces, remembering everyone who talked about him. He had a feeling that at this moment, the more people said that he was worthless, the more likely it was to be Gu Qian's people. He's really good at enduring. He didn't even say a word. Is he a taciturn gourd? What's the point of Tianyin living with such a man? Yeah, is he a turtle? Turtle? Haha, what a wonderful metaphor. If Tianyin saw these photos, he might give him a green hat to wear. Then he would be a green-haired turtle. A middle-aged man laughed. Charlotte suddenly pushed away a dancer beside him and grabbed an unopened bottle of beer from the table next to him. With a wave of his hand, he threw it at the middle-aged man who mocked him as a green-haired turtle. The beer bottle flew through the air in a straight line, and when it stopped again, It was already on the middle-aged man's forehead. Bang! There was an explosion. The beer bottle exploded, and the middle-aged man's forehead instantly burst open. Blood and beer flowed down his face. His body collapsed a second later. A second ago, Charlotte was still a silent lamb, but a second later, he turned into a vicious wolf. The dancers who were sticking to him didn't dare to stick to him anymore, and they ran away immediately. All the voices of discussion disappeared. Violence was not the way to solve the problem, but sometimes violence was the ultimate means to destroy the problem together. The bodyguards of the club quickly turned around and swarmed up. Charlotte beat people in their territory, which was already a challenge to them. A sneer appeared at the corner of Xia Lei's mouth. He took a step forward, leaped up, and kicked the chest of the club's bodyguard who was at the front of the group. The guy let out a blood-curdling screech as his body flew out, knocking over several tables before stopping. However, he never got up again. With both feet on the ground, Charlotte reached out and grabbed the fist of a club bodyguard. His left hand pressed down, and his right elbow hit the club bodyguard's face. Blood splattered, and the club bodyguard's nose and front teeth were all broken. Charlotte let go of his hand and kicked his lower abdomen. The bodyguard's body slid several meters away along the floor tiles. The remaining bodyguards suddenly realized that the target they were preparing to gang up on was not someone they could deal with. Fear suddenly hit their hearts, and the situation of the siege also came to a standstill. "What are you doing? Go!" The club bodyguard leader, holding the walkie-talkie, shouted angrily. A young club bodyguard suddenly pulled out a hunting knife, shouted, and rushed to Charlotte. "Did you use your saber?" Xia Lei's lips curled into a cold smile. The young club bodyguard rushed to Charlotte and swung his arm to stab Charlotte's chest. Charlotte didn't retreat, but took a step forward. While avoiding the hunting knife, he reached out and grabbed the young club bodyguard's wrist that was holding the knife. Then he pressed down, and the hunting knife that was supposed to stab him was stabbed into the young club bodyguard's lower abdomen. Charlotte let go of his hand, and the young club bodyguard curled up on the ground. He covered his lower abdomen with both hands and wailed. Blood gushed from the wound on his lower abdomen, and in the blink of an eye, a large area of the floor tiles was wet. The entire underground bar seemed to have been hit by a minus 70 degrees Celsius cold wave, and everything was frozen. After a short silence, someone suddenly screamed, "Ah, murder! Call the police! Call the police! Call the police!" Someone shouted. Someone took out his cell phone and called the police. Charlotte didn't stop the person who called the police. He looked at the club bodyguard leader and said coldly, "Do you want to continue?" The club bodyguard leader broke out in a cold sweat. How dare you kill people here? Is killing a person enough to scare you guys? I've killed more than 3 people. A few more won't matter," Charlotte said. The club bodyguard opened his mouth and was speechless. The faces of his lackeys were all pale. At best, they were gangsters, and they also had the experience of stabbing people with knives. But in front of Charlotte, they were really just Boy Scouts. "You don't dare to come, do you? If you don't dare to come, call your boss out." "I want to see him," Charlotte said. At this time, Gu Dinghai quietly squeezed into the crowd and walked toward the exit of the underground bar. Charlotte said loudly, "Mr. Gu, we haven't finished our conversation, and you're leaving?" Gu Dingshan shivered, and his feet seemed to be filled with lead, and he couldn't move. Just now, he could calmly talk with Charlotte about the stock market and the law, without any scruples, because he believed that Charlotte wouldn't dare to do anything to him. But now it was different. Now Charlotte was like a bloodthirsty beast. Talking about the law with a beast and the rules of a business war. Wasn't that nonsense? Suddenly, a group of people rushed into the entrance of the underground bar. This group of people were armed. Some were holding baseball bats, some were holding steel rods, and some were holding knives. All of them looked fierce. The bald young man who led them said fiercely, "Who's making trouble?" The head of the club's bodyguard was relieved when he saw the bald young man. He then pointed at Charlotte and said, "Young Master Zheng, it's him." The bald young man angrily walked toward Charlotte, and a large group of club bodyguards behind him rushed up and surrounded Charlotte. You dare to make trouble here and hurt my people? The man called young Master Zheng glared at Charlotte. His eyes were as if he wanted to tear Charlotte to pieces. Charlotte was very calm. Are you the owner of this place? I don't think so. Are you your dad? What's your name? Even a rabbit's eyes would turn red if it heard this tone. Damn it, the bald young man roared. Beat him to death. A club bodyguard waved a baseball bat and hit Charlotte's head. Bang! A gunshot was heard. Ah! With a scream, the club bodyguard who attacked Charlotte with the baseball bat fell to the ground. His hands covered his knees, and he kept screaming and trembling. Charlotte took 2 steps forward and pressed the smoking pistol against the bald young man's head. No one spoke, and the whole underground bar fell into a strange silence again. If Xia Lei's act of stabbing someone with a knife had only escalated the incident, then his act of shooting someone had already ignited the incident. You. The bald young man could no longer be arrogant, and his voice trembled. Don't mess around. Come on. I just asked you what your name is. Zheng Su. Does this club belong to your dad? What's your dad's name? Yes. His name is Zheng Xiangdou. Does your dad know a woman named Gu Qian? Charlotte gently poked Zheng Su's head with the gun, putting pressure on him. My dad, Zheng Su stuttered. Gu Dinghai kept blinking at Zheng Su. This scene didn't escape Charlotte's eyes. He didn't need to force Zheng Su to say it, because he already knew the answer. Get out of here, Charlotte roared. Zheng Su trembled and staggered back. The group of club bodyguard around Zheng Su also retreated in panic. Charlotte's eyes swept over the faces, and then he said loudly, I know some people here are in contact with Gu Qian and working for her. I don't know what benefits she promised you, or what she has in her hands. What I want to tell you is that she has committed treason. If she appears here, I won't even bother to ask. I will shoot her. Some of you are probably used to a good life and are tired of living. It doesn't matter. Continue to follow her. Sooner or later, you'll have to be buried with her. No one spoke, and no one dared to talk back to Charlotte. This was the purpose of Charlotte's violence, and the fear of these people in front of him was what he wanted. He stabbed people here with a knife and shot people. He wanted to show these people who worked for Gu Qian what he could do. Among all the people here, Gu Dinghai's mood was obviously the most complicated. He looked at Charlotte, his eyes full of hatred, but there was also a sense of helplessness. Gu Dingshan was his older brother. Just based on this, he had enough reason to hate Xia Lei. But what could he do to Charlotte? At this time, a group of police officers suddenly rushed in from the entrance of the underground bar. Put down the gun. A sharp-eyed leading police officer saw Charlotte with a gun in his hand as soon as he came in. Charlotte put the gun on the ground and said, Don't be nervous. I am performing official duties. Performing official duties? What official duties are you performing? The police officer asked, gesturing for his officers to surround Charlotte, ready to arrest him. Zheng Su's mouth showed a sneer. You stab people with a knife and fired a gun. What do you think you'll get? Charlotte did not speak. A police officer suddenly said, Isn't that Charlotte? Yes, Charlotte of the Thunder Horse Army Factory. His colleague also recognized him and said excitedly, Fuck! The leading police officer suddenly reacted, and his face immediately filled with a smile. Aha! It turns out to be Mr. Xia. What can I do for you? The smile on Zheng Su's face suddenly froze. On the other side, Charlotte smiled. It's okay. It's all over. Officer, you take these people back and interrogate them to see if there are any people wanted on the internet. In addition, please call an ambulance and send these 2 criminals to the hospital for treatment. Okay, no problem. I say, why are you still standing? Get to work, the leading police officer urged. Well, officer, I'm leaving, Charlotte said. It's okay, Mr. Xia, take care. Oh yes, your gun. Please put it away. The leading police officer picked up Charlotte's gun from the ground and handed it to Charlotte with both hands. Thank you, goodbye. Charlotte turned around and left. Under the watchful eyes of the public, he just walked away without a fart. The psychological shadow of the people in the underground bar could not be calculated. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.